Chapter 92. Fifth Level of the Bright Chi Realm. With this kind of strength, even in a big city like Yun City, he would be considered a strong fighter. Sensing the terrifying cultivation that suddenly erupted from Lu Jin's body, Tianyang's face could not help but change. He never expected that Lu Jin would actually have a breakthrough. Not being well informed can really kill people. If I didn't do it and let another inner disciple take on this mission, I'm afraid that he would be dead by now. Looking at Lu Jin's soaring aura, Heavenly Sun smiled bitterly in his heart. Just as Tianyang said, no one in the Soaring Cloud sect would have thought that Lu Jin would have a breakthrough in just a few months. As a cultivator of the fifth level of the Bright Chi realm, he had countless life and death experiences. Furthermore, he had mastered the high-level dark class Evil Blood Palm. Unless it was Yi Zhanling himself, no one else would be able to survive. As for the number one inner disciple, Yi Zhanling, he was always elusive and rarely took on missions. Once he did, it would be a dangerous mission with a lot of rewards. Yi Zhanling was probably still fighting for a mission that was as difficult as killing Lu Jin. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to deal with Lu Jin. But I could have used my true yuan to crush him when I was at the fourth level of the Bright Chi realm. But now that I'm at the fifth level of the Bright Chi realm, it's a different story. Licking his lips, Tianyang's eyes showed no signs of retreating. On the contrary, he was extremely excited. When Lu Jin was at the fourth level of the Bright Chi realm, Tianyang's true yuan was only slightly stronger than his. Now that Lu Jin had broken through to the fifth level of the Bright Chi realm, even Tianyang's ultimate sea of Qi could not surpass him. After all, the difference of 4 seas of Qi was enough to make up for the difference in quality between Lu Jin's sea of Qi and Tianyang's. That's Bloody Hand Lu Jin. At this time, the middle-aged man who first sensed the battle finally arrived. He was shocked to see Lu Jin, who was immersed in the true yuan of the fifth level of the Bright Chi realm, and laughing madly. Lu Jin's name was well known throughout the entire Arctic state. Who would have thought that the battle between two strong fighters was between Lu Jin and a teenager? What's going on? This young man was clearly only at the first level of the Bright Chi realm. Judging from his aura, Lu Jin had broken through to the fifth stage of the Bright Chi realm. Could it be that this young man was fighting with Lu Jin before? The moment the middle-aged man saw Tianyang, he could not help but roar in his heart. It was actually a youth at the first level of the Radiant Chi realm who was fighting Lu Jin? Brat! At the same time, Lu Jin's true yuan cultivation at the fifth level of the Bright Chi realm had completely stabilized. His eyes, which had been dyed red by the slaughter, flickered with a bloody light that was filled with killing intent. You are only at the first level of the Bright Chi realm, yet you are able to fight so fiercely with me who is at the fourth level of the Bright Chi realm. Such a genius, even in the entire Snowgale Nation, is not common. Therefore, the flesh and blood of such geniuses must be the most delicious. Lu Jin laughed cruelly. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled faintly, but his heart also became somewhat heavy. This was a battle that was 4 levels higher than him. Even if Tianyang was the reincarnation of the Tianji Sword Emperor, it would not be as easy as fighting Chen Shan and Wu Meng. Perhaps this was the biggest battle he had ever fought since his rebirth. Brat! Prepare to die! Blood Chi Palm! Lu Jin screamed, and his body suddenly disappeared from the spot. After breaking through to the fifth level of the Bright Chi realm, Lu Jin's speed was also much faster than before. Seeing this, the middle-aged man could not help but be shocked. Blood Chi Palm. This is Lu Jin's Blood Chi Palm, a low-grade dark-class martial art. In order to deal with a youth at the first level of the Bright Chi realm, he actually used the Blood Chi Palm. Low-grade dark class. At this time, Tianyang calmly caught the exclamation of the middle-aged man beside him. Although he had Lu Jin's information, it was clear that he did not know as much as the middle-aged man. Since it is a low-grade dark class, then I will have to deal with it properly. Flowing Cloud Sword Technique, flowing cloud sword. Tianyang roared. On the flaming wind sword, light flashed, and 100 feet of qi sea churned endlessly. A majestic amount of true yuan condensed on the flaming wind sword, and the sword slashed out. This slash was many times stronger than the ordinary slash from before. The practice of martial arts was generally divided into 3 stages. The first stage was to comprehend and execute the technique. The second stage was now Tianyang, to execute the technique on a deeper level. The third stage was to comprehend the concept of martial arts. However, Tianyang did not need to use the concept of flowing cloud to deal with Lu Jin's blood qi palm. Kill! Lu Jin roared. His true yuan drove the majestic blood qi, and the surrounding air seemed to be filled with the thick smell of blood. The other 2 bright qi realm cultivators who had just arrived were also shocked. This is Blood Hand Lu Jin. The one fighting with him is actually a young man. Just as the 2 bright qi realm cultivators exclaimed, the flowing cloud sword and the blood qi palm collided. Boom! This attack, whether it was the flowing cloud sword or the blood qi palm, was much stronger than the previous attack. Coupled with Lu Jin's bright qi realm cultivation, everyone thought that Tianyang would be crushed by Lu Jin. However, the reality was completely different from what they had imagined. A surging wave of qi swept out, causing the 3 spectators to retreat a few steps. Tianyang and Lu Jin's expressions did not change, and they were still crazily fighting. One palm, another palm. With every palm, Lu Jin drove a large amount of blood qi towards Tianyang. One slash, another slash. Tianyang's expression was still calm. With every slash of his sword, Lu Jin's powerful blood qi palm was dissolved into nothingness. Seeing this scene, the 3 spectators were stunned. A youth at the bright qi realm could actually fight with the famous blood hand Lu Jin, who had reached the bright qi realm for a long time? This kid is too frightening. The middle-aged man could not help but murmur. If Tianyang did not die after this battle, after a few years of growth, it would be easy for him to kill Lu Jin. However, Lu Jin's face darkened when he saw that every single palm strike had no effect at all. Even after using the power of the 5th level of the bright qi realm, he was still unable to deal with this young man? Damn it, you forced me to do this! I originally planned to kill a few more people and use it when I reached the Great Success realm. Who would have thought that before I reached the Great Success realm, I would be forced to use it by you? If that's the case, then die. Lu Jin laughed maniacally. The 5 qi seas in his body were completely boiling. The blood qi that was countless times stronger than the blood qi palm covered the entire battlefield. In the next moment, Lu Jin's ferocious roar resounded throughout Yun City. Chapter 93. Baleful Blood Palm. Lu Jin roared. The true energy in his 5 qi seas boiled. Blood qi that was countless times stronger than the baleful blood palm was unleashed. A high-grade profound class evil martial skill that required a person's blood essence to practice, the Blood Fiend Palm. Lu Jin had killed countless people with this skill, and no one had been able to kill him. This proved the power of the baleful blood palm. Shit. It's Lu Jin's baleful blood palm. Run. The middle-aged man's pupils constricted. Without hesitation, he turned around and ran for his life. The 2 Clear Qi Realm first-level martial artists did the same. The 4th-level martial artist, who had just reached the Clear Qi Realm, also turned pale after seeing Lu Jin use the Baleful Blood Palm. The Baleful Blood Palm was known by almost all martial artists in the Arctic state. Once it was used, Lu Jin could even go toe-to-toe with a 6th-level martial artist. Although this young man is talented, he actually forced Lu Jin to use the Baleful Blood Palm. That's an upper-class, dark-class martial skill. Even a 6th-level martial artist would have to take it seriously. That young man is only at the 1st level. That young man is dead meat. The middle-aged man's heart trembled, but he did not stop running. The bloody hand Lu Jin was too terrifying. At this moment, between the 2 of them, the surrounding trees were trembling, and the rocks under their feet were cracking. Some of the trees even lost their vitality. Everything in the surroundings was covered by this terrifying blood chi. In the next moment, a total of 5 trees were all dead. This was not even used yet. As expected of the baleful blood palm, the famous dark class martial skill of the bloody hand Lu Jin. Just this move alone is probably as powerful as an upper-class dark class martial skill. Tianyang looked at Lu Jin solemnly. The power of this move was terrifying, but Tianyang wasn't afraid at all. After all, he was the Tianji Sword Emperor. If he was afraid of a mere 5th-level martial artist, then how could he be called an emperor? Seeing this terrifying palm technique, Tianyang's eyes burned with fighting spirit. Flowing Cloud Sword Technique. Tianyang roared furiously as his ultimate sea of qi began to boil. His aura soared to the maximum in an instant. The heavenly firmament sword shone brightly, and the wind flame sword, a mid-grade prized artifact, completely erupted. Tianyang's aura had reached the pinnacle. Legend has it that once the blood hand Lu Jin's blood fiend palm is unleashed, all life within a radius of 10 meters will cease to exist. Within 100 meters, not even a blade of grass will grow. Now that I look at it, that is indeed the case. Tianyang said indifferently. Hearing this, Lu Jin's face revealed a sinister smile. That's right. My baleful blood palm not only absorbs the power of one's blood essence to cultivate, but it also absorbs the vitality of all living things around it. This is a big secret. Even the bright Qi realm cultivator who died at my hands didn't know about it. Kid, as a bright Qi realm cultivator, you are able to force me to this extent. You should be honored in the underworld, Lu Jin said with a sinister smile. The true essence within his body continued to boil. It was obvious that in order to use this baleful blood palm, Lu Jin had to use his full strength. Absorbing vitality to increase one's own strength. I have seen many such methods, Tianyang said calmly. As the Tianji Sword Emperor, what kind of strange methods had he not seen before? Your baleful blood palm is extraordinarily powerful against those in the bright Qi realm. However, this method of absorbing vitality is too shallow, too useless, Tianyang said indifferently. Hearing this, Lu Jin's face became even more sinister. You are about to die, and you still dare to spout nonsense. You prepare to die, Lu Jin roared. The baleful blood palm was also prepared to the extreme. The power of the blood essence of the people he had devoured and the vitality he had just seized had completely fused together. The monstrous blood chi spun wildly like a huge whirlpool. In the end, it condensed into a huge blood-red palm. It exuded boundless baleful chi and boundless blood chi. Obviously, this huge blood-red palm was Lu Jin's most powerful technique, the baleful blood palm. Kid, give me your life. Lu Jin laughed maniacally. That huge blood-red palm also blasted towards Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. The flaming wind sword in his hand trembled slightly. It was not because of fear, but because of battle intent. Flowing Cloud Sword Technique, Flowing Cloud Concept. Tianyang roared angrily. The true yuan in his body surged wildly. In the end, it all condensed into the flaming wind sword in his hand. There were 3 major stages in cultivating martial technique. Tianyang had only looked at the flowing cloud picture for a few minutes to completely comprehend the first and second stages. As for the third stage, after looking at it for 2 hours, he also comprehended a little. After Tianyang had used it many times, he also completely comprehended it. However, as the Sword Emperor, the Supreme Master of the Sword Tao, how could Tianyang be satisfied with an ordinary comprehension? In the concept of flowing clouds, Tianyang had fused some of his own understanding of the way of the sword. Although it wasn't much, it was enough to make this mid-grade profound ranked martial skill experience a qualitative leap. Now, the flowing cloud sword technique had already reached the peerless profound rank. If the flowing cloud concept was completely unleashed, then its power would be comparable to half a step into the earth rank. Baleful blood palm, kill him for me. Martial spirit, blood soul, you go too. Flowing cloud concept / Lu Jin and Tianyang roared angrily at the same time. The rock under their feet completely shattered, and the baleful blood palm and flaming wind sword, which were integrated with the power of the blood soul martial spirit, also completely collided. With a flash of light, the flowing cloud concept directly chopped off one of the baleful blood palm's fingers. However, there was still an incomparably huge blood chi left to crush. This blood soul did not have any specific attack power. However, once it was integrated with the baleful blood palm, then the power of the baleful blood palm would skyrocket. Therefore, the attack power of the baleful blood palm had completely reached the level of the peerless profound rank. You're just a piece of trash at the bright chi realm. It's already good that you can fight with me to this extent. Now die for me. Kiki, with this level of talent, your flesh and blood must be extremely delicious. My baleful blood palm will definitely reach the great accomplishment stage. Lu Jin laughed strangely. In his opinion, after his baleful blood palm integrated with the blood soul, regardless of other aspects, just the attack power alone was completely comparable to the peerless profound rank. Although Tianyang was an inner disciple of the Soaring Cloud sect, he was only at the Bright Chi realm. How could he have the same level of peerless profound rank martial skill? In his opinion, Tianyang would definitely not be able to block his baleful blood palm. So that's how it is. It's just a pure blood chi condensed into a palm. Although it's condensed to a certain level, but it's still only at the peak of the first stage of cultivating martial skills. Without comprehending anything deeper, he only knows how to use martial skills to condense blood chi to attack. No wonder this guy killed so many people. He's gone astray. Facing the crushing power of the baleful blood palm, Tianyang's face was still calm. He released his soul power and immediately saw through the details of the baleful blood palm, as well as its weakness. If that's the case, then there's no need to say anything more. Tianyang said indifferently. The flaming wind sword in his hand shone brightly. A terrifying sword light shot out from the flaming wind sword and instantly pierced through the baleful blood palm. The baleful blood palm that had integrated with the power of the martial soul was completely destroyed. Following that, another fatal sword light shot out from the flaming wind sword and instantly arrived in front of Lu Jin. Under Lu Jin's incredulous gaze, his neck was broken. Blood spurted out. Lu Jin, the bloody hand who had slaughtered countless innocent people in the Arctic state for 5 years. Chapter 94. 1/ The famous Bright Chi realm cultivator, Lu Jin, who was known as the Blood Hand, died under Tianyang's slash just like that. That fatal slash left the 3 onlookers dumbfounded. This was an attack that a mere Bright Chi realm cultivator could unleash? With such an attack, even if it was against a clear Chi realm expert, it might be able to withstand it for a while. This kid's talent was a little too terrifying, wasn't it? Tianyang turned his head and looked at the 3 onlookers. He did not say anything and only looked at them with an indifferent gaze. However, when faced with this gaze, the 3 onlookers felt a chill run down their spines. They did not stay any longer and immediately ran away. This kid was too scary. That gaze seemed to contain endless killing intent. If they stayed any longer, they could not be sure what the kid would do to them. After the 3 onlookers left, Tianyang turned his head and reached out to grab Lu Jin's dimensional bag and head. He could not be bothered with the corpse and left. After putting Lu Jin's head into Lu Jin's dimensional bag, Tianyang sighed and raised his head to look at the blue sky. You can all rest in peace now. After that, Tianyang did not stay any longer and walked towards a certain direction in Yun City. This time, Tianyang did not plan to return immediately after completing his mission in the Soaring Cloud sect. Yun City was one of the few major cities in the Arctic state. No matter what, he wanted to take a good look around. Yun City, in a hotel. Tianyang sat cross-legged in a room that he had spent 300 gold coins to exchange for. He looked at the dimensional bag in his hand in amazement. This dimensional bag originally belonged to Lu Jin. Lu Jin had branded it with his soul imprint. However, after Lu Jin's death, the soul imprint could not continue to exist and disappeared. Tianyang easily refined the dimensional bag and took control of it. Who would have thought that a mere bright chi realm cultivator like Lu Jin could own a complete dimensional bag? Tianyang said with some surprise. After all, dimensional treasures were very rare. Lu Jin was only at the bright chi realm, and yet he could own a real dimensional treasure. This was not a small opportunity. The dimensional bag that I used before was not a real dimensional bag, but it was not far from exploding. After all, it was just an inferior imitation of a dimensional treasure. It was not bad that it could be used so many times. Tianyang laughed lightly. Then, he took out the dimensional bag from his waist and used some small tricks to combine the two dimensional bags into one. After that, Tianyang carefully counted the spoils of the battle. This Lu Jin sure has a rich collection. He already has a total of 1,600 spiritual stones, which is double of what I had before. They were surprised to see the treasures in Lu Jin's dimensional bag. In the Heavenly Sun sect, these spirit stones were naturally low-grade spirit stones. However, Lu Jin, who was at the 5th level of the Radiant Chi realm, possessed 1,600 spirit stones. It seems that the reason why Lu Jin improved so quickly was not only because of the evil blood palm, but also because of these spiritual stones. Tianyang said in a low voice. Then, he continued to check Lu Jin's other possessions. After all, Tianyang was a fighter at the peak of the Heaven Ascension realm. His soul strength was very strong. Although he could not use more than 1/10,000th of it, he still finished counting in a few minutes. In Lu Jin's dimensional bag, Tianyang did not care for most of the items. Only a small portion was needed by Tianyang. For example, 1,600 spiritual stones, a few bottles of energy recovery pills, and an essential ingredient for refining the vitality refining pill. The second most important ingredient besides the crimson demon Ganoderma was the primary green vine. The primary green vine was not refined into a pill. If taken directly, it could increase the chances of a fighter at the peak of the 9th stage of the Bright Chi realm breaking through to the vitality refining realm. It was very precious. Tianyang did not expect Lu Jin, who was at the 5th stage of the Bright Chi realm, to be able to find such an item. To refine the vitality refining pill, the 3 main ingredients and the rest of the auxiliary ingredients are easy to find. But the 3 main ingredients are a bit difficult to find. However, I already have 2 of the 3 main ingredients. As for the spiritual flower fruit, I should be able to find it before I break through to the vitality refining realm. Tianyang said in a low voice. Then, he separated the rest of the items. The rest were things that Tianyang did not need. For example, the blood palm, blood chi palm, mountain breaking palm and other martial skills. As for martial skills, Tianyang did not need them at all. The collection of martial skills in his head was enough to make all the martial artists in Heaven Ascension continent go crazy. 9-tempered dragon body, sky extreme sword art. He already had heaven-ranked martial skills. Why would he still need to cultivate Lu Jin's unorthodox martial skills? Among all of Lu Jin's martial skills, only the blood palm was able to move him. However, it was not because of its power, but because of its cultivation method. It actually needs to devour human flesh to cultivate. This cultivation method is also very evil. Well, this kind of thing should not exist in this world. I might as well destroy it, Tianyang said softly. Then, he used his soul energy to penetrate the blood palm. With a slight vibration, the precious high-level profound martial skill scroll turned into a pile of powder. The rest of the items were not much. Although the blood chi palm looked similar to the blood palm, it only used one's blood chi to fight. For a cultivator of the body refining realm, it was very useful. If he returned to the soaring cloud sect, he might be able to exchange it for some spiritual stones. After checking all the items, Tianyang could not help but smile. Although most Tianyang had no use for them, they were still very valuable. If Tianyang were to exchange it with the soaring cloud sect, it would be worth at least 2,000 spiritual stones. Of the 2,000 spiritual stones, Tianyang had 2,400 spiritual stones. Including the 1,500 spiritual stones that he would get from completing the mission, Tianyang had more spiritual stones than most cultivators of the 7th or 8th stage of the Radiant Qi realm. In that case, he would be able to reach at least the 5th level of the Clear Qi realm without having to worry about the problem of spirit stones. However, since I'm already in such a big city like Cloud City, I can also ponder over the final main ingredient of the energy conversion pill. Usually, a big city like this has a free market area. In this kind of place, the possibility of picking up scraps is also the highest. Stroking his chin, the corners of Tianyang's mouth curled into a smile. Chapter 95. Cloud City was one of the few large cities in the Snowgale Nation, so it naturally had a free display district. However, the free display district was usually filled with all sorts of people. The items inside might be good, but they might not even be worth as much as a small pebble on the side of the road. Usually, the possibility of picking up a treasure in such a place was the highest. Some people used a few gold coins to buy a profound rank martial technique. There were also people who used tens of thousands of spirit stones to buy a piece of trash. The reason for such a situation was that the free display district was usually filled with items that even the owners themselves couldn't see through. As the Tianji Sword Emperor, Tianyang's soul power was so strong that there were probably very few people in the entire Sky Continent who could compare to him. Wouldn't the items that others couldn't see through be exposed under the soul power of a peak ascension state? After obtaining some information from the inn, Tianyang didn't stay any longer and walked towards the center of Cloud City. That was the place he wanted to go, the free display district. This treasure hall is really bustling with noise and excitement. Looking at the entrance of the free display district, the bustling crowd surprised Tianyang. He didn't expect that a free display district in an ordinary city could attract so many people. Every city's free display district had its own name, and Cloud City's was called the Treasure Hall. Of course, it was unknown how many items there were in the treasure hall. Sighing, Tianyang walked in without hesitation. One had to pay 100 gold coins to enter the treasure hall. It wasn't too much, but it wasn't too little either. To the current Tianyang, he didn't even need to blink an eye to hand it over. This was also one of Cloud City's profit-making method. After all, the consumption required to maintain such a large treasure hall was naturally astonishing. It's called the treasure hall, but in reality, it doesn't live up to its name. With a glance, it's all trash. He casually walked around the treasure hall. There was only one floor here, and there weren't any rooms or the like. The spacious hall was filled with stalls, and there were empty paths. As far as the eye could see, there were at least a few hundred vendors in the treasure hall. Each vendor sold at least a few hundred items. The number of items stored in the treasure hall was terrifying. However, even though the number was terrifying, there wasn't a single item that could be considered a treasure among them. Sighing softly, Tianyang didn't have much hope for the treasure hall. After all, the items here couldn't be seen through by their owners. If they couldn't see through them, then it was very likely that they were fakes. Fine, there are at least 100,000 items here. I don't believe that there isn't a single item that can attract my attention. Tianyang muttered to himself. Then, he walked along with the crowd. After a few minutes, Tianyang also found a few good things. One of them was a peerless profound-ranked martial skill that could be said to be half a step into the earth rank. It was hidden in a tattered piece of wood. Unfortunately, it wasn't a sword move. Tianyang naturally didn't need it. As a sword emperor, the thing that he didn't lack the least was sword moves. Even if there was something that could be picked up, Tianyang couldn't be bothered to pick it up. The other item was a rarer one. It was a flower called the blood spirit flower. It was an important ingredient to refine a second-grade peak elixir, the blood burst elixir. This elixir could greatly increase one's strength in a short period of time. However, the blood burst elixir required a large amount of the user's qi and blood. Moreover, it would also cause a certain impact on one's potential. Tianyang couldn't be bothered to use such an item. Moreover, although others couldn't tell what the blood spirit flower was, they could tell that it was strange from its aura. According to Tianyang's estimation, he couldn't get it without spending a few hundred spirit stones. This treasure hall is indeed a mixed bag of good and bad people. I've seen so many free display areas in my previous life, but this treasure hall in Yun City has the most fish. Tianyang mumbled to himself. He was able to find a few good items. Although he didn't buy them, he didn't lose out by spending 100 gold coins. However, he was almost done looking at the items here. Turning around, just as he was about to leave, Tianyang's spiritual strength suddenly moved slightly. Tianyang's figure suddenly stopped and his eyes narrowed. What is that? Something that could make the Tianji Sword Emperor's spiritual strength move like this was definitely not an ordinary item. Turning around, he increased his speed. Soon, Tianyang arrived in front of the item that caused his spiritual strength to move. However, this was a corner that almost no one cared about. This stall was also very strange. The items on it were either worth as much as a profound rank martial skill or were cheaper than the weeds on the side of the road. The item that caused Tianyang's spiritual strength to move was in this pile of items. It was an inconspicuous item, a black stone slab. Kid. At this moment, the stall owner sitting behind the stall suddenly spoke. Tianyang raised his head and suddenly realized that this stall owner was actually an old man who was dressed sloppily. I refuse to bargain with the items here. If you want to bargain, you have to do it more than 3 times, and I will chase you out. These items only have one price, and that is 1,000 spirit stones. Whether it is this stone or that long sword, they are all 1,000 spirit stones. The old man said in a hoarse voice. Hearing this, Tianyang's interest was piqued. No matter what it was all 1,000 spirit stones? One had to know that 1,000 spirit stones was an extremely large amount for an enlightened Qi realm cultivator. If the size of the sea of Qi wasn't very large, then 1,000 spirit stones could last him until he reached the 9th level of the enlightened Qi realm. For an enlightened Qi realm cultivator, 1,000 spirit stones was definitely a large sum. Your items are also worth 1,000 spirit stones? Tianyang chuckled. When doing business, regardless of whether it was real or fake, he had to test it out. Although this old man hid his strength well, under the probing of his spiritual strength, his strength could be seen at a glance. The peak of the 9th level of the enlightened Qi realm, a martial artist who was only a step away from the transformed Qi realm. This kind of cultivator could be considered a top expert in Yun City. In the Yang clan, he would definitely be a guest of honor. It was unknown why he dressed up like this to set up a stall here. If you want to buy 1,000 spirit stones. No bargaining allowed. The old man's voice was flat, as if he couldn't be bothered to talk to Tianyang. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled. He reached out and picked up the black stone slab that had caused his spiritual strength to stir. I want this black stone slab. 1,000 spirit stones. Here you go. Tianyang chuckled. Something that could cause his spiritual strength to stir was definitely not something that could be measured by 1,000 spirit stones. Seeing the bag that Tianyang threw out, the old man was shocked. At this moment, an arrogant voice came from the side. Chapter 96. This young master wants it. An arrogant voice came from the side. In the next moment, a burst of true yuan shot towards Tianyang. Seeing this, Heavenly Sun coldly snorted. Too lazy to even move, he released his true essence, condensing it into a true essence beam of light of uniform thickness, which completely shattered the true essence beam. In the next moment, the true Yuan continued to shoot towards the person who attacked. "How dare you!" At this moment, an old voice came from the side. The true Yuan of a clear Qi realm level 6 cultivator directly shattered Tianyang's attack. Tianyang's eyes flashed coldly. He turned his head and looked at the people who came. 2 people. One of them looked to be in his late teens. His cultivation level was not bad, at clear Qi realm level 4. The other person was a middle-aged man who looked a little old. His cultivation level was much weaker, only at the peak of the 6th level of the bright Qi realm. I said, "This stone slab, this young master wants it. You dare to fight back?" The young man's eyes flashed with anger. With his status, when had anyone dared to go against him in Yun City? In the past, when he wanted to buy something, he didn't even need to pay for it as someone would obediently deliver it to him. Today, he had nothing better to do and came to the treasure hall to take a stroll. It wasn't easy for him to find something good. Someone actually dared to go against him? Not handing over the black slate? "Who are you?" Tianyang sneered. "You said I would hand it over? Then why don't you go *CK yourself? How dare you? You dare to speak so arrogantly in front of the second young master of the Yang clan? You must be tired of living." Before the young man could speak, the middle-aged man next to him snorted. "Which clan are you from? Aren't you afraid of bringing disaster to your family by saying such words?" Hearing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. He chuckled and ignored the 2 people. He handed over 1,000 spiritual stones to the old man. "Here are 1,000 spiritual stones. Count them." "No need. I believe in your character. Someone who dares to offend the second young master of the Yang clan, Yang Kuan, will not be stingy with a mere 1,000 spiritual stones," the old man said. Hearing this, the young man next to him reacted. His face suddenly became angry. He was the second young master of the Yang clan. He had been pampered since he was young. When had he ever been humiliated like this? "Kid, this old man already said that I am the second young master of the Yang clan, Yang Kuan. Now, why aren't you obediently handing over the black slate?" Yang Kuan's voice was ferocious. Hearing this, Tianyang didn't even bother to lift his eyelids. Tianyang had seen too many people like this who were arrogant and despotic just because their family had some power. Moreover, with the power of the Yang clan's second young master, Yang Kuan, to be arrogant. In terms of strength, the Tian family wasn't much worse than the Yang family. In terms of identity, Tianyang was the son of the Tian family's patriarch, the young master of the Tian family. Was completely above Yang Kuan. Seeing that Tianyang did not even bother to say a word, Yang Kuan was even angrier. He turned his head and shouted, "Old man, how much did this guy pay? I will pay double. Give it to me." The transaction just now was completed. The black slate now belongs to this young man. "I have no right to deal with it," the old man said indifferently. Hearing this, Yang Kuan's expression turned even uglier. He didn't expect that this sloppy old man would actually dare to not give him face. At this time, Tianyang finally found a treasure that caught his attention. He did not want to stay in the treasure hall any longer. Just as he was about to leave, Yang Kuan's face suddenly became gloomy. "You dare to run after stealing from me? Kid, die!" Yang Kuan shouted angrily. His 4th level clear Qi realm Qi surged. He clenched his right fist and a faint golden light flashed. This is the Yang clan's mystic low-class fist technique, Golden Light Fist. I did not expect the young master to use such a technique to deal with a guy of unknown cultivation level. Looking at the golden light in Yang Kuan's hand, the middle-aged man was shocked. The next moment Yang Kuan moved. In a flash, Yang Kuan appeared behind Tianyang. His golden fist smashed towards Tianyang's back. "Golden Light Fist!" Yang Kuan roared. Hearing this, Tianyang's face suddenly became unhappy. It was good enough that he did not find trouble with Yang Kuan. This guy, how dare you take advantage of him? Mystic low-class martial technique. You are only at the first stage of martial technique cultivation. How dare you be so arrogant? Get lost! Tianyang shouted coldly. His clear Qi realm Qi surged and in the next moment, he used Tong Ming Fist. Bang! 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 Yang Kuan's golden light was completely shattered by this punch. In the next moment, the three hidden forces were also forced into Yang Kuan's body by Tianyang. Before Yang Kuan could react, Tianyang hooked his finger and detonated the three hidden forces. Puff! Yang Kuan spat out a mouthful of blood. His face suddenly turned pale and his legs became weak. He almost lost his balance. Staring at Tianyang's back, Yang Kuan's face became extremely gloomy. Who is this guy? How dare he injure me in Yun City? Uncle Xiao, go investigate. Find out everything about this brat. I want him to suffer the consequences. That black slate will be mine sooner or later. Yang Kuan roared furiously. Hearing this, the middle-aged man called Uncle Zhao's face turned cold. He could see that this time, the Yang clan's second young master was really angry. How dare he provoke the second young master? I don't know how this guy's brain works. He deserves this outcome. The middle-aged man snorted coldly in his heart. Then, he helped Yang Kuan up and left without looking back. His family's second young master, who was at the 4th level of the Bright Qi realm, had used a low-grade profound class martial skill, the Golden Light Fist, to defeat a 1st-level Bright Qi realm martial artist with just one punch. There were many eyes in the treasure hall. Even though this was only a corner, there were probably many people who saw the situation here. It wouldn't be long before the news of Yang Kuan being defeated by a clear Qi realm first young master with one punch spread. This way, Yang Kuan would lose face. For the arrogant second young master of the Yang clan, this kind of thing was definitely not tolerated. Therefore, Yang Kuan was so angry that he wanted to kill Tianyang. After leaving the treasure hall, Tianyang quickly forgot about the matter of the Yang clan's second young master. To the Tianji Sword Emperor, that kind of person was just a clown. There was no need for Tianyang to pay attention to him. At this moment, he was thinking about the black slate that he had just spent 1,000 spiritual stones to get his hands on. This black slate actually has a seal. Looking at the situation, it was at least done by someone in the Dao Fire realm. A small slate actually caused someone in the Dao Fire realm to put a seal on it. It seems that this slate has a big secret. Tianyang laughed lightly. Then, he put the slate into his space bag and came to a loft. Chapter 97. The Elixir Pavilion was the biggest place to buy elixirs in Yun City. Although the flow of people here paled in comparison to the treasure hall, everyone who entered and exited here had a decent cultivation base. Tianyang felt a little more confident when he saw this. As the biggest place to buy elixirs in Yun City, the Elixir Pavilion should have the spirit flower fruit. The three main ingredients needed to refine the vitality dissipation pill were the primal green vine, the crimson demon Ganoderma, and the spirit flower fruit. Tianyang already had the primal green vine and the crimson demon Ganoderma. The only one he did not have was the spirit flower fruit. The spirit flower fruit gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Unlike spirit stones, the spirit flower fruit gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but it had its own special attribute. Even if it was not refined into an elixir, the spirit flower fruit could purify one's inner yuan. The purity of one's inner yuan and the size of one's qi were two important factors that affected the quality of a cultivator's inner yuan. The purification of one's inner yuan meant that the purity of one's inner yuan would increase. If one's inner yuan was purer, then even if one's qi was not opened enough, one's strength would still increase to a certain extent. Therefore, the spirit flower fruit was the most valuable of the three main ingredients for the vitality dissipation pill. After standing outside for a while, Tianyang did not hesitate and walked in directly. There were not many people in the elixir pavilion. After all, elixirs were extremely precious. Even the ingredients were not inferior. Most people would not come here. "Hello, may I know what you would like to buy?" At this moment, a pleasant voice came from the side. Tianyang turned around and saw a pretty girl standing next to him with a smile. Hearing that, Tianyang nodded. "I wonder if I can buy ingredients here?" "Buy ingredients?" Hearing that, the pretty girl was stunned. Most cultivators did not need to buy ingredients. After all, they only bought elixirs. Buying ingredients was obviously for refining elixirs. However, this young man looked like he was only 15 years old. A 15-year-old alchemist? "You're an alchemist?" the pretty girl exclaimed in shock. Tianyang nodded. "Since we can buy medicinal herbs here, I wonder if you guys have one." As for his identity as an alchemist, although Tianyang wouldn't publicize it, he wouldn't deliberately hide it either. In any case, having an additional identity was beneficial to Tianyang. Perhaps in the future, if someone saw his identity as an alchemist, it would save him a lot of trouble. What medicinal herb? The pretty girl was still very professional. Although she was shocked by Tianyang's identity as an alchemist, she immediately adjusted herself and asked. "Spirit flower fruit," Tianyang said. Hearing this, the pretty girl was stunned. "Spirit flower fruit? What kind of medicinal herb is that?" Tianyang was stunned when he heard that. The spiritual flower fruit was an extremely important medicinal herb for cultivators. How could this young girl not know about it? "Lil Jiao, come here. That guy is obviously trying to please the crowd. He even said that he is an alchemist and that the spiritual flower fruit can only be used to concoct Tier 2 pills. Look at him. How can he be a Tier 2 alchemist? Don't bother about him. Besides, how can this poor kid afford the spiritual flower fruit?" At this moment, a shrill voice sounded from the side. It was a middle-aged woman who looked at Tianyang with disdain and ridiculed him. Hearing this, the pretty girl who was called Lil Jiao showed a trace of embarrassment on her face. He was a guest, and no matter what, she shouldn't be rude. However, this middle-aged woman's status in the elixir pavilion was not ordinary. For a moment, the pretty girl didn't know what to do. How can that be? After being ridiculed by the middle-aged woman, Tianyang was angered. Even a person made of clay had 3 points of anger. Moreover, who was Tianyang? He was the most powerful person in the mainland 10,000 years ago, the Tianji Sword Emperor. If he didn't say anything when someone ridiculed him, then what was the point of being a sword emperor? He might as well be a turtle emperor. "I won't argue with you. There must be someone concocting pills behind your elixir pavilion," Tianyang said coldly. Hearing this, the middle-aged woman was stunned. How did this kid know? However, she immediately regained her composure. "So what if that's the case? Then do you know that this guy concocted the wrong ingredients when concocting the crouching tiger pill? The furnace will explode in 3 minutes at the latest." Tianyang sneered. Hearing this, the middle-aged woman was stunned. Then, her face darkened. "Who are you? How dare you curse us alchemists to explode our furnaces? Kid, you're the first one who dares to cause trouble in my elixir pavilion. Men, blast him away from me." Boom! At this moment, there was a sudden explosion behind the elixir pavilion. A round cauldron lid flew up into the sky and smashed through the ceiling of the elixir pavilion, landing on the floor of the elixir pavilion. Coincidentally, it landed between Tianyang and the middle-aged woman. Seeing this scene, the people who were selecting medicinal pills at the side were all stupefied. Who exactly was this young man? They knew the alchemist of the elixir pavilion. He was one of the few grade 2 alchemists in Yun City. The news of him concocting the crouching tiger pill had been heard by some of the higher-ups in Yun City. The crouching tiger pill was a type of body-tempering pill. It might be too strong for a body-tempering realm cultivator, but for a chi-illuminating realm cultivator, It was an invaluable pill. Once the pill was successfully concocted, the alchemist of the elixir pavilion would definitely become famous. After all, the crouching tiger pill was a powerful pill even 10,000 years ago. Looking at the expressions of the people in the elixir pavilion, the alchemist must have been successful in concocting the crouching tiger pill. Why did the furnace explode in less than half a minute? Where's my cauldron lid? Where's my cauldron lid? At this moment, a disheveled old man rushed out from the back door of the elixir pavilion. He ignored the people around him and rushed to the cauldron lid on the floor. So it's here. But I was in the middle of concocting. Why did the cauldron explode? The disheveled old man mumbled as he picked up the cauldron lid. At this moment, the middle-aged woman seemed to have thought of something and immediately said, "Alchemist Jiang, it's all this kid's fault. He cursed you that your cauldron was going to explode." The middle-aged woman shrieked. Hearing this, the disheveled old man was stunned. Then, he turned to look at Tianyang with a glimmer of light in his eyes. Go f***ck yourself. Tianyang chuckled. He could not be bothered with the chattering middle-aged woman and turned his attention to the disheveled old man. Based on the smell, if I'm not wrong, you concocted the crouching tiger pill, right? The most important thing for a level 2 body tempering pill is the balance of the ingredient. After all, the ingredients for the crouching tiger pill are extremely potent. However, you obviously used the wrong ingredients. As the main ingredient for the crouching tiger pill, the tiger bone grass is extremely valuable. However, it is very similar to another ingredient, the wolf bone grass. The difference between the tiger bone grass and the wolf bone grass is extremely small. However, their effects are worlds apart. Once the wrong ingredient is used, the cauldron will definitely explode. Tianyang spoke with assurance. Hearing this, the disheveled old man was stunned. His eyes glimmered. He did not immediately find fault with Tianyang. Instead, he quietened down. Even a level 2 alchemist, who had just exploded his cauldron, was convinced. Seeing this, everyone was stunned. The most obvious difference is that on the veins of the tiger bone grass, there is an inconspicuous silver line. This silver line represents the power essence of the tiger bone grass, but there is none on the wolf bone grass. Once the tiger bone grass is mistaken for the wolf bone grass in the process of concocting the crouching tiger pill, then the energy in the cauldron will definitely not be balanced. The cauldron will definitely explode. Tianyang said calmly. Hearing this, the disheveled old man was stunned. Then, he started to dance around as if he had gone mad. Yes, I was wondering why there was something wrong with the tiger bone grass. So that's why. So I mistook it for the wolf bone grass. Seeing the sloppy old man's actions of dancing with joy, the surrounding people were all stupefied. Chapter 98. So that's how it is. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what to say as they looked at the sloppy old man who had completely disregarded his status as a second-grade pill refiner. It turned out that the middle-aged woman in charge had made things difficult for this young man because of a medicinal ingredient. In the next moment, the sloppy old man's pill refining situation was exactly as the young man had said. Just like that, the middle-aged woman had accused Tianyang of being a jinx. Everyone present scoffed at things like jinx and curses. Only the curses of the western region of the continent would be effective. However, everyone present was only an ordinary cultivator in the aura illuminating state. They had probably never even left the Arctic state, let alone know about the evil curses of the western region of the continent. Young man, no, young friend, what's your name? You actually know such a secret. After dancing for a while, the sloppy old man finally stopped and ran excitedly to Tianyang. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled slightly and glanced at the middle-aged woman. The middle-aged woman felt Tianyang's gaze and her face suddenly turned pale. Previously, it was precisely because of the medicinal herbs that Tianyang had asked for that he had been unkind and even mocking him. Now, the facts had proven that Tianyang was truly a person with cultivation in the Tao of alchemy. Perhaps he really was a pill refiner. She had offended a pill refiner, especially one who had just given pointers to their pill pavilion's pill master Jiang. Naturally, the middle-aged woman had never thought of this situation. I wanted to say something, but it's obvious that this pill pavilion is too big to accommodate a lowly person like me. Tianyang chuckled. Hearing this, the sloppy old man's expression froze and darkened. Although he was obsessed with pill refinement, he was not stupid. Although Tianyang's words were vague, he had still noticed it. Furthermore, the sloppy old man immediately noticed where Tianyang's gaze had swept and saw the middle-aged woman. That fellow surnamed Hua is very powerful. Even his cousin dares to be so arrogant. He even dares to humiliate a little friend with such a cultivation in the Tao of alchemy? The sloppy old man's voice was ice-cold. Hearing that, the middle-aged woman's expression changed greatly. It was obvious that the sloppy old man wasn't willing to let them off so easily. The sloppy old man's words were not false. If it was only the difference between the tiger bone grass and the wolf bone grass, the sloppy old man might not have paid much attention to Tianyang. However, he had never said that he was refining the subduing tiger pill. The tiger-subduing elixir was a grade 2 peak elixir and was extremely difficult to refine. Even in the entire Yun City, only a small number of people knew about it. This young man looked unfamiliar. He was obviously not from Cloud City. That meant that he had sensed that he was concocting the hidden tiger pill. Not only that, but he had also discovered the mistake he had made while concocting the subduing tiger pill and gave him some pointers. This level of cultivation in the Tao of alchemy was unfathomable. For a character of this level, the medicinal pill pavilion couldn't wait to befriend him, let alone offend him. And this middle-aged woman was so blind that she had offended this young man. The middle-aged woman was afraid. Alchemist Zhang's status in the medicinal pill pavilion was extremely high. He was almost on the same level as the pavilion leader. If someone like him wanted to punish her, even the pavilion leader wouldn't be able to change anything. After all, this matter was her fault to begin with. Customers were extremely important to the medicinal pill pavilion. However, the middle-aged woman didn't distinguish between right and wrong. Just because Tianyang was too young, she had directly mocked him. This kind of person didn't deserve to manage the medicinal pill pavilion. That damned Yang Kuan. If not for him, how would I have offended such an accomplished young man in the Tao of alchemy? No matter how much Yang Kuan compensates me, I will definitely leave a bad impression in Alchemist Zhang's heart. Can Yang Kuan afford to pay for this kind of loss? The middle-aged woman was extremely angry at this moment. However, no matter how angry she was, she didn't dare to vent her anger on Alchemist Jiang and Tianyang. The reason why this middle-aged woman had directly mocked Tianyang the moment she appeared wasn't because she was mean to this extent. It was because Yang Kuan, the second young master of the Yang family, had entrusted her to do so. She had only said a few words to humiliate Tianyang, and she could get a reward of 100 spirit stones. Naturally, the middle-aged woman accepted it without hesitation. However, the middle-aged woman had never expected Tianyang's Tao of alchemy to be so profound. The mistake that Alchemist Jiang had made when refining the crouching tiger pill was immediately discovered by Tianyang and pointed it out. You don't want to speak, right? Fine, I will report this matter to the pavilion leader as it is. Alchemist Jiang, who was also the sloppy old man, snorted coldly. Then, he turned his head and said amiably to Tianyang, "May I know your name and where you are from? I am an inner disciple of the Soaring Cloud sect. My surname is Tian and my name is Yang. If you need my guidance in the future, you can go to the Soaring Cloud sect. I will not leave the Soaring Cloud sect in a short period of time," Tianyang said. Alchemist Jiang nodded his head heavily when he heard this. It was as if Tianyang was a supreme alchemist, and his words were all words of wisdom. The other onlookers were completely stunned. Who was Alchemist Jiang? This young man actually asked Alchemist Jiang to go to the Soaring Cloud sect personally to seek guidance? What shocked them the most was that Alchemist Jiang actually agreed to it. Yes, yes. Alchemist Jiang smiled and nodded his head. He heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. To be able to have such Tao of alchemy at such a young age, this young man's talent was definitely limitless. In the future, even if he couldn't become a supreme alchemist, it would be easy for him to destroy an elixir pavilion. I heard that you are here to buy herbs. May I know what kind of herbs you are buying? No matter what kind of herbs they are, I will cover the cost. Alchemist Jiang said generously. Tianyang's eyes flickered when he heard this, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a casual smile. It seemed that Alchemist Jiang wasn't young, but he was quite clever. He must have guessed Lin Yun's Tao of alchemy correctly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so courteous. However, Tianyang's current state was still insufficient to buy all the herbs for the soul-dissolving pill. All right, I won't stand on ceremony then. 1 spiritual flower fruit, 1 50-year-old snake swallowing flower, 1 30-year-old green fruit. Tianyang had a calm smile on his face as he continuously spat out the names of the herbs. The middle-aged woman, who was in charge of purchasing the elixir, had an extremely ugly expression on her face. However, no matter how ugly her expression was, she knew that she would definitely suffer this loss. When the pavilion master returned in the future, this debt would definitely be on her. Tianyang returned to the inn with a faint smile on his face after packing up the herbs in the space bag. This trip to Cloud City had been fruitful. Now that he had solved the problem, it was time to return. However, before that, Tianyang still needed to ponder over the mysterious black stone slab that he had exchanged for 1,000 spiritual stones in the treasure hall. I'm not in a hurry to refine the soul-dissolving pill. I'm currently only at the peak of the first level of the clear chi realm. Although I can prepare to break through to the second level of the clear chi realm after returning to the sect, I'm still far from the soul-dissolving realm. However, I can break the restriction on the black stone slab right now. Tianyang chuckled. Subsequently, his soul energy, which was at the peak of the heavenly ascension realm, was injected into the black stone slab. Following that, the restriction on the black stone slab exploded with a soft sound. If one were to use True Origin to break the restriction, one would need to be at least at the 5th or 6th level of the soul-dissolving realm. However, it was much easier to use soul energy. Tianyang had a faint smile on his face. With a wave of his hand, he removed the dust from the restriction and injected his soul energy into the black stone slab. This black stone slab is actually made of black crystal stone. It seems that there's at least an earth-rank martial skill inside. Recognizing the material of the black stone slab at a glance, Tianyang began to have some expectations of what was recorded on the black stone slab. In the next moment, Tianyang saw the first 4 words. Chapter 99. Secret Air Treading Technique. The moment his soul power entered the black slate, these 4 words rushed into Tianyang's mind. Then, a huge amount of complicated information poured into Tianyang's soul. However, it was blocked by Tianyang's own soul power and could not go any deeper. Tianyang could only laugh bitterly. His soul power was too strong. The information in the black crystal slate could at least break through the soul power of a primordial transformation realm cultivator. In the end, it could only transmit its name. The rest of the cultivation methods were all blocked by Tianyang's own instinctive defense. Secret air treading technique? Treading on the air is something that any Tao Fire Realm cultivator can do. Some powerful primordial transformation realm cultivators can do it too. I wonder what the secret of this air treading technique is. Tianyang raised his eyebrows. From the 4 words, Tianyang could already read some information. Then, Tianyang removed the instinctive defense of his soul and read the huge amount of complicated information. 15 minutes later. After Tianyang finished browsing through all the information, a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. The void treading secret technique was actually a secret technique. Soaring in the 9 heavens, treading on the air. This air treading technique is actually so powerful. Tianyang was shocked. This air treading technique could actually allow a radiant Qi realm cultivator to fly into the sky. Treading on the air was the privilege of a Dao fire realm cultivator. After all, if one's cultivation did not reach a certain level, one would not have enough true essence to fly. In addition, only a Dao fire realm cultivator could comprehend some methods to let oneself leave the ground and soar into the sky. Otherwise, even if one had enough true essence, one would not be able to do this. However, this air treading technique broke this iron law. It allowed a radiant Qi realm cultivator to fly into the sky. This void treading secret technique is truly miraculous. If I cultivate according to its instructions, I might be able to tread on the air with my current cultivation. Tianyang clicked his tongue in wonder. In his previous life, although he had seen countless strange martial arts and mysterious secret techniques in the carefree continent, he had never seen a secret technique like the air-stepping secret technique, which broke the iron law of the continent's cultivation world. If he had seen it before, he wouldn't be so surprised. Then, Tianyang closed his eyes and recalled the cultivation method of the secret skill. The void-treading secret technique was divided into 3 layers. The first layer could be cultivated by those in the clear Qi realm. If one reached the great completion realm, then with the help of the void-treading secret technique, those in the clear Qi realm could soar into the sky. The second layer could only be cultivated by those in the primordial transformation realm. At this moment, the air-stepping secret technique was not as simple as allowing a cultivator to fly into the sky. Instead, it allowed him to soar into the sky and increase his speed. Tianyang had mentioned that those in the primordial transformation realm could also walk in the air. That was based on the fact that the primordial transformation realm cultivator's flying speed was extremely slow. Once he sped up, without the unique magic of the Dao fire realm, he could forget about flying down. However, the second layer of the air-stepping secret technique could not only allow those in the primordial transformation realm to fly, but their speed was even faster than those who had just entered the Dao fire realm. The third layer could only be cultivated by those in the Dao fire realm and above. It could allow one's flying speed to soar to the extreme in a short period of time. This extreme could allow a Dao fire realm cultivator's flying speed to soar by 50%. 50% was half. A Dao fire realm cultivator with a 50% increase in speed would probably be faster than an ordinary peak Dao fire realm cultivator. This air-stepping secret technique is truly miraculous. Tianyang's eyes shone with a dazzling light as he exclaimed in surprise. He had originally thought that the air-stepping secret technique was just an ordinary secret technique that allowed those in the clear Qi realm to fly in the air. Although it was rare, it was not very powerful for the Tianji Sword Emperor. After all, the flying diagram was fast. He had cultivated the dragon's subduing steps, so even if he walked on the ground, his speed would not be much slower than flying. However, if he was chasing someone or being chased, and if that person had a secret treasure that could allow his speed to soar, the dragon's subduing steps would not be enough. The air-stepping secret technique just happened to satisfy Tianyang's needs. Not bad at all. This trip to Cloud City was a good one. Tianyang grinned. Then, he took out some medicinal herbs from his space bag and his elixir cauldron. He started a fire to refine the elixir. He was not refining the energy dissipation elixir. He did not need it now. However, when he returned, Ling Yuhan's little disciple would not be far from the clear Qi realm. Opening the Qi Sea was the most important thing in the path of martial arts. The elixir that he refined would be able to assist Ling Yuhan in opening the Qi Sea. 3 days later, Tianyang rode a horse back to the soaring cloud sect alone. he passed by the outer sect and entered the inner sect under the complicated and envious gazes of the outer sect disciples. Once, Tianyang was one of the three great wastes of the outer sect that they despised. Now, Tianyang had become an inner sect senior that they could only look up to but could not reach. The changes in the world were really unpredictable. After returning to the inner sect, Tianyang did not go straight to Lingyuan. Instead, he went straight to the mission hall. Mission submission. As he walked into the mission hall, Tianyang ignored the surprised gazes of the crowd. He walked straight to the counter and spoke to the disciple who was in charge of handling the mission submission procedures. At this time, the disciple beside him finally reacted. Didn't he accept a mission to kill Lu Jin a few days ago? Why is he back so soon? I guess the difficulty of the mission is too high. If he could not complete it, he would have given up. For a death mission of this level, other than Senior Yi Zhanling, who else could complete it? Tianyang must have completed it. Shut up. At this time, a slightly angry voice was heard from the door. A handsome young man glanced at the crowd coldly. Are you deaf? Tianyang said to submit the mission, not to give up the mission. Hearing this, the crowd was shocked. At this time, Tianyang took out Lu Jin's head from his space bag with a look of disgust. All of them were astounded when they saw the head because they couldn't be any more familiar with the face on it. In the entire Blizzard state, other than the bloody hand Lu Jin, who else could have such a ferocious face? You really completed it? Looking at Lu Jin's head, the disciple in charge of the handover asked in a trembling voice. Hearing this, Tianyang frowned. The head is already here, what are you still doubting? Yes. Taking the head, the disciple hurriedly dealt with it. Then, he took out 2,000 spiritual stones from his space bag and gave it to Tianyang. Here are 2,000 spiritual stones. Please keep it well, Senior Tianyang. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded. At this time, the young man who reprimanded the disciples suddenly walked over and patted Tianyang's shoulder. Gu Xiu. Tianyang turned around and saw Gu Xiu, whom he met a few times during the inner disciple assessment. You are, Senior Tianyang, bad news. Gu Xiu lowered his voice and said to Tianyang. I don't know what price that Xiao Hao paid to get another inner court disciple to provoke you in the few days you were gone. Seeing that you weren't around, that inner disciple wanted to tear down your courtyard, but he was stopped by Senior Lingyuan. Right now, Senior Sister Lingyuan is sparring with that inner court disciple in the martial arts arena. Senior Lingyuan is only at the peak of the 9th level of the body refinement realm. How can she beat that clear chi realm level 3? Senior Tianyang, quickly go and help her, Gu Xiu said anxiously. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyes turned cold. Chapter 100. Where is Yuhan now? Has it started? Tianyang asked Gu Xiu as he walked. His expression was cold, and his eyes seemed to be able to freeze everything. Gu Xiu could not help but shudder. He then said, When I heard the news and left, I was already prepared. It might have already started. This Xiao Hao is really something. After being defeated by me once, he still dares to provoke me again. Hearing this, Tianyang snorted coldly, and a terrifying murderous intent exploded from his body. Although they had not known each other for long, Lingyuan was already the closest person to Tianyang after his rebirth. At this moment, someone actually dared to hurt his disciple? That was simply courting death. What about the person Xiao Hao found? How strong is he? Tianyang said coldly. His words seemed to come from the depths of hell. Gu Xiu's voice trembled. That person is ranked 9th on the inner court stone wall. He's 4 ranks higher than you. His name is Yang Xiao. He's the young master of the Yang family, one of the 8 great families of the Blizzard state. Yang family? Tianyang's eyes narrowed. A few days ago, he had interacted with the second young master of the Yang family. It seemed that the second young master of the Yang family, Yang Kuan, was not convinced after being taught a lesson by him, so he came to find his big brother. Xiao Hao was not that important. However, this did not mean that Tianyang would let Xiao Hao off so easily. Whoever dared to hurt his disciple and provoke him, regardless of whether it was the Yang family, the Xiao family, or any other family, they would all pay the price. Let's go. Tianyang shouted coldly and used the dragon subduing step. In an instant, his speed reached a terrifying level. Gu Xiu was shocked. He immediately circulated his true yuan and followed. At this moment in the battle arena. Following the collision, Ling Yuhan could not help but take a few steps back. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and her face was much paler. However, the hand holding the jade sea sword was still tightly. She stared at Yang Xiao. When my master returns, all of you will have to bear the consequences. Humph, your master. Hearing this, the young man with a dignified appearance, who was ranked 9th in the inner sect, Yang Xiao, sneered, "That guy is just a coward. The courtyard is about to be torn down, but he's still outside. He probably heard the news and didn't dare to come back. I see that you're not bad-looking, and your cultivation talent is not bad either. Why are you still following that trash Tianyang? Why don't you come to my Yang family and be my maid? Compared to Tianyang, it's much better." "You shut up." Facing Yang Zhao's lewd smile, Ling Yuhan wiped the corner of her mouth and coldly said, "You only dared to come to my master's house and act presumptuously while my master was out on a mission. What right do you have to talk about my master?" The true essence in Ling Yuhan's body surged, and the blue sea sword in her hand gradually flickered. Hearing that, the people next to him sighed. Indeed, if Tianyang hadn't left, Xiao Hao wouldn't have dared to provoke them. Furthermore, Yang Xiao was ranked 9th in the inner sect, and was at the 3rd level of the Radiant Qi realm. Dealing with someone at the peak of the 9th level of the body refinement realm was truly shameless. However, these were only the thoughts of the crowd. They didn't have the guts to say it out loud. After all, Yang Zhao's temper was much more domineering than Qin Shan's. If they offended Yang Xiao, they, who were only at the 1st or 2nd level of the Radiant Qi realm, would definitely be the target of his vengeance. No inner sect disciple would be willing to face the vengeance of the ranked 9th in the inner sect. "Humph, your master Tianyang is nothing but trash. Even if he comes back now, I'm not afraid of him." Thinking of this, Yang Xiao couldn't help but snicker in his heart. Originally, his younger brother had asked him to teach Tianyang a lesson. Who would have thought that Xiao Hao would actually give him something in return? In Yang Zhao's opinion, Tianyang was just a piece of trash who was lucky enough to defeat Qin Shan. Just by teaching a piece of trash a lesson, he was able to receive Xiao Hao's reward, and it was something that he had always wanted. It would be a waste if Yang Xiao didn't do this business. However, Ling Yuhan's words made Yang Xiao extremely unhappy. Hearing this, Yang Zhao's expression became much colder. True yuan surged in his hands. "Since you're so stubborn, then don't blame me for being ruthless. I'd like to see how you're not afraid of the law." At this moment, a cold shout came from the side. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads to take a look and saw Tianyang standing next to the panting Gu Xiu at the arena's entrance with a cold expression. "He's here." Tianyang actually came back at this crucial moment. "Tianyang?" Yang Zhao's pupils constricted as he stared at Tianyang. From what he could sense, Tianyang's aura was actually extremely powerful. Didn't the rumors say that he was only at the 1st level of the Radiant Qi realm? Why do I feel that he's not inferior to the 8th or 7th in the inner sect? Yang Xiao roared in his heart. He didn't know that Tianyang had opened up an ultimate sea of qi that was 100 feet wide. At first glance, the aura that was revealed was indeed much more terrifying than his original cultivation. However, no matter how powerful this kid is, he only defeated Qin Shan by luck. I'm much stronger than Qin Shan. Even if Tianyang's cultivation is strong, so what? Yang Xiao gritted his teeth and forced himself to calm down as he snorted. "Tianyang, I thought that you would stay outside and be a coward for the rest of your life. I didn't expect you to come back now. However, it's good that you're back. Since you dared to go against my brother in Yun City, then you should be prepared to be humiliated by me in the Soaring Cloud sect." Yang Xiao snorted coldly. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression was still cold. He strode forward and with just a few steps, he passed Yang Xiao and carried Ling Yuhan down the arena. "Yuhan, are you all right?" Tianyang's cold expression softened as he asked. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan shook her head. Just as she was about to open her mouth to say something, Tianyang directly stuffed a pill into her mouth. "This is a recovery pill. It's just enough for you. Rest well and heal your injuries. Now, let me take revenge for you," Tianyang said coldly. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan's heart warmed. She retreated, sat down cross-legged and began to refine the pill. At this moment, Tianyang turned his head. A dazzling light shot out from his eyes and shot directly at Yang Xiao. "Yang Xiao, right?" Tianyang's face was filled with coldness. He took a step forward and arrived on the arena. "You dared to behave atrociously in my house when I wasn't around. You even injured my disciple. You're really something." Not knowing why, the coldness in Tianyang's voice had lessened. However, to Yang Xiao, it was even more chilling than before. Tianyang's eyes seemed to have a strange magical power. It was as if it wanted to devour his soul. "If that's the case, then take my sword," Tianyang said coldly. He was at the peak of level 1 Bright Qi realm. His true energy was infinitely close to that of level 2 Bright Qi realm. In the next moment, it condensed on the flaming wind sword. Seeing this, Yang Zhao's face changed. He broke free from Tianyang's gaze. "Martial spirit! Insolent tiger!" Yang Xiao roared. Accompanied by the sound of a tiger's roar, Yang Zhao's body suddenly became much stronger. The true energy in his body seemed to have been activated. Seeing this, the crowd was stunned. The battle had not even started and Yang Xiao had already used his martial spirit? Middle-grade mystic martial technique, Tiger's Roar. Yang Xiao was like a madman. The true energy of level 3 Bright Qi realm was rapidly condensing in his hands. Then, he charged directly at Tianyang. Stubborn resistance. Tianyang shook his head. The true energy on the flaming wind sword was also condensed to the extreme. Flowing cloud sword technique, flowing cloud state. With a slash of his sword, the dazzling sword light attracted everyone's attention. Then, the tiger's roar fist was directly shattered. Even Yang Xiao himself was severely injured by this slash. Inner Sect 9th Disciple Yang Xiao, defeated. Chapter 101. Seeing that Yang Xiao could not even withstand a single blow from Tianyang, the crowd fell silent. However, no one was surprised. On the contrary, some of them were even secretly laughing. Tianyang's strength was known to all who had seen the battle. In the end, when he was besieged by 7 first and second stage Bright Qi realm cultivators, Tianyang was still able to kill them all with a single blow. How could Yang Xiao challenge him? In their opinion, Tianyang's single blow did not kill Yang Xiao because Tianyang was being merciful. After all, it was impossible to kill a fellow disciple so easily. This Yang Xiao is also an idiot. How strong is Chen Shan? Just like him, he is at the 3rd stage of the Bright Qi realm. Why was Yang Xiao beaten up so badly by Tianyang? A person looked at Yang Xiao, who was knocked unconscious by Tianyang's sword, and mocked, who told him to be so arrogant when Tianyang wasn't around? Now that Tianyang is back, he's dead. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. Killing an ordinary 3rd stage Bright Qi realm cultivator was nothing to Tianyang. After all, he was able to kill Lu Jin, who was at the 5th stage of the Bright Qi realm, and had a lot of experience in killing. He also had the dark high-level evil blood palm. How could he be afraid of a puny Yang Xiao? Tianyang, you actually injured the young master of the Yang clan. The Yang clan will not let you off. At this moment, Xiao Hao, who had brought Yang Xiao over, looked at Tian Yang's expressionless face with a deathly pale complexion as he put on a strong front. Hearing this, Tian Yang raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Xiao Hao. He spat out a sentence, "Do you also want to fight me?" Hearing this, Xiao Hao, who had wanted to continue speaking, immediately cowered. After all, he was only at the 9th stage of the body refining realm. Tianyang was someone who could kill Yang Xiao in a second. If he fought with Tianyang, perhaps Tianyang could kill him with a single blow. Moreover, if the Yang clan wants to kill me, they will have to kill the Tian clan first. Do you really think that the Yang clan is the leader of the 8 great clans in Blizzard State? Tianyang chuckled. Hearing this, Xiao Hao's expression changed. That's right. Tianyang was not only a talented genius, but he had another identity. He was the son of the Tian clan's patriarch. With this background, let alone seriously injuring Yang Xiao, even if Tianyang crippled him, the Yang family would not dare to say anything. After all, although the head of the 8 major families isn't the Tian family, the Tian family is only second to the first and second of the 8 major families, ranking third. The Yang clan and Xiao clan, the Tian clan and the Tian clan, the Tian clan's Tians. Seeing Xiao Hao's cowardly expression, Tianyang curled his lips and put away the sky cloud sword. After devouring so much martial spirit energy, the sky cloud sword showed no signs of leveling up. The amount of martial spirit energy consumed was too horrifying. However, the sky cloud sword could not only level up by devouring, but even if it was only at the upper grade of the yellow rank, it could still have the power of a half-step into the profound rank. Comparing this, it was not unacceptable that it needed to devour so much to level up. Thinking of this, Tianyang put away the flaming wind sword and was about to get off the stage. At this moment, a rough voice came from outside. I was wondering why Yang Xiao was lying on the ground like a dead dog. So it was you, Tianyang, who attacked. A bold and rough voice came. Tianyang's footsteps paused for a moment. He did not seem to know this person. However, when the people around heard this voice, their expressions changed. This person was the inner disciple ranked 4th on the stone wall, Yang Xiong. Of course, this Yang Xiong was not a member of the Yang clan. They just happened to have the same surname. On the contrary, the relationship between Yang Xiong and Yang Xiao was not good. At the very least, after seeing that Yang Xiao was seriously injured, Yang Xiong's words were not angry at all. Instead, it was gloating. Yang Xiao relied on the power of the Yang clan to bully the Lingyun sect's inner disciples. As someone with the same surname as Yang Xiao, Yang Xiong naturally had his fair share of troubles. However, half a year ago, after Yang Xiong beat up Yang Xiao in front of everyone understood that Yang Xiong and Yang Xiao were not the same kind of people. You are. Tianyang looked at Yang Xiong. He searched his memories but did not remember this person. However, at this moment, Ling Yuhan walked over and whispered in Tianyang's ear. This is the inner disciple ranked 4th, Yang Xiong. Compared to Yang Xiao and Chen Shan, he is much stronger. He has reached the 4th level of the Bright Qi realm. Moreover, Yang Xiong is a battle maniac. Whenever he sees someone stronger than him, he will either beat them up until they feel ashamed or beat them up until they prove that they are stronger than him. Master, your current strength is not inferior to the top 5 of the inner disciples. This Yang Xiong is probably after you. Ling Yuhan said in a low voice. She had stayed in the inner court for a longer period of time than Tianyang, so she knew more about some of the people and matters of the inner court than Tianyang. Hearing this, Tianyang squinted his eyes. Battle maniac? 4th level of the Bright Qi realm? Lu Jin was at the 5th level of the Bright Qi realm, but he was killed by him. However, that was because Lu Jin did not have a master to teach him. Other than the baleful blood palm and fighting experience, he did not have anything else. Therefore, his battle strength was not very strong and he was easily killed by Tianyang. However, this Yang Xiong was different. Although he did not know of any powerful family background, with the guidance of the inner disciples of the Soaring Cloud sect, Yang Xiong's strength was definitely not weak. I have long heard of Brother Tianyang's name. I also know that Brother Tianyang's strength is not ordinary. Today I am here for one thing. Yang Xiong laughed, walked in front of Tianyang, and jumped onto the stage. Yang Xiong's rough face had a similarly rough smile, but no one could feel the slightest bit of disgust towards him. Moreover, the Soaring Cloud sect's inner robe, that was extremely wide for the Heavenly Sun sect, was actually stretched taut by Yang Xiong. It was obvious that Yang Xiong's muscles were extremely strong. Facing such a muscular man, most people would be terrified before the fight even started. Seeing Yang Xiong's face and thinking of his battle maniac reputation, the crowd was shocked. Could it be that Yang Xiong wanted to fight with Tianyang? One was the famous battle maniac Yang Xiong, who was at the 4th level of the Bright Qi realm. The other was the recently risen Tianyang, who once killed 7 people with one sword. He was considered to have the strength to be in the top 5, but his cultivation was only at the 1st level of the Bright Qi realm. If these two people fought, it would be much more interesting than Yang Xiao being beaten up. Yang Xiong's strength is unquestionable. However, Tianyang was able to kill 7 people with one sword. I am afraid that it was not because of his own strength. If Tianyang was able to do that, he must have used some kind of trump card. Then, Tianyang's battle is uncertain. A young man muttered. At this time, in the middle of the stage, Yang Xiong grinned. Chapter 102. I challenge you to a duel. Yang Xiong's rough voice rang out. Hearing this, everyone nodded their heads. As expected, Yang Xiong's reputation as a battle maniac was extremely well known even in the inner sect. Normally, even the top 3 disciples would not want to be entangled with Yang Xiong. After all, Yang Xiong's character of continuing to fight if he couldn't beat you and only stopping when he could beat you was really too annoying. Therefore, the top 3 disciples, except for Yi Zhanling, would avoid Yang Xiong whenever they saw him. They were afraid that if they were not careful, this battle maniac would pester them again. Therefore, Yang Xiong could only look for other people who had the potential to fight with him. However, such people were rarely found. However, Tianyang was one of them. Not interested. Tianyang replied immediately. He was too lazy to even think. Hearing this, Yang Xiong was stunned. Everyone was stunned. Not interested? The person who spoke was Yang Xiong. Although Yang Xiong was not as domineering as Chen Shan and Yang Xiao in the inner sect, he was still the 4th most powerful person in the inner sect. Tianyang actually rejected such a powerful person so straightforwardly? Yuhan, let's go. Your injuries are not light. If you want to break through to the clear Qi stage, it will take some time. However, I have refined some pills for you outside. It should be useful. Tianyang said directly, ignoring the stunned Yang Xiong. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan nodded her head with a strange expression. This was Yang Xiong. Tianyang actually ignored him? Hey! Seeing this situation, Yang Xiong was anxious. It was not easy to find someone who was not weak. How could he just let him run away like this? Aren't you curious why Qin Shan and the rest would go against you just because you defeated Xiaoping? Yang Xiong said loudly. Hearing this, Tianyang, who was about to take a step, paused and turned around. Tianyang's face was covered with coldness. Fight with me. If you can beat me, I will tell you. Seeing Tianyang's reaction, Yang Xiong grinned and said. At this moment, Tianyang's figure moved. Using the dragon subduing step, Tianyang's speed instantly soared to the extreme. With just a flash, Tianyang arrived in front of Yang Xiong. Tong Ming fist. Tianyang bellowed. Soon after, his fist, which contained 13 layers of hidden energy, landed on Yang Xiong's body. What? As soon as the 13 layers of hidden strength entered, Yang Xiong didn't even have time to react before it exploded. Yang Xiong's face also paled a lot. However, The cultivation of the fourth level of the bright Qi realm was not to be trifled with. The true Yuan in his body exploded violently, causing Tianyang to take a step back. At the same time, he had also obtained some breathing space. Good guy, if it wasn't for my strong physical strength, I'm afraid I would have been killed by this punch. Yang Xiong licked his lips and said excitedly. At this moment, Tianyang was too lazy to talk nonsense. Once again, he used the dragon's subduing step. His body became illusory and the flaming wind sword appeared in his hand. The sky cloud sword was attached to it. In the next moment, Tianyang's figure flashed and disappeared from Yang Xiong's sight. What a fast speed! Looking at Tianyang's sudden disappearance, Yang Xiong couldn't believe it. Was this speed really something that a first-level bright Qi realm cultivator could possess? However, no matter how fast you are in front of me, it will be greatly reduced. Low-grade mystic martial spirit dragon turtle. Yang Xiong laughed loudly. At this moment, Tianyang only felt that the ground under his feet had turned into a swamp. Every step he took, there was a large amount of mud holding him back. His speed was greatly reduced in an instant. It's actually a low-grade mystic martial spirit? And it's the dragon turtle with extremely strong defense? Who would have thought that Yang Xiong, who is only at the fourth level of the bright Qi realm, would possess such a strong martial spirit? The people next to Yang Xiong said in shock, as they saw the dragon turtle's shadow appear behind Yang Xiong's back. Hearing this, Yang Xiong grinned. At this moment, Tianyang's mouth curled into a smile. Dragon turtle? This kind of demonic beast is not bad. Looking at Yang Xiong's appearance, although the dragon turtle martial spirit is only at the low-grade mystic martial spirit, its power has reached the peak of the low-grade mystic martial spirit. However, this kind of speed restriction may be effective against ordinary movement techniques. But what is Tianyang practicing? Earth-class movement technique, dragon subduing step. Dragon subduing step can subdue dragons, so naturally, it can also subdue the dragon turtle. Dragon subduing step, dragon subduing. Tianyang shouted as the true Yuan in his body rapidly circulated. In the next moment, the restriction of the dragon turtle's power was directly shattered. Seeing this, Yang Xiong's face changed. You actually broke my dragon turtle swamp? No wonder you can beat up Yang Xiao. This kind of strength is enough to be in the top 5. However, my dragon tortoise martial soul isn't just limited to this. Earthquake rupture. And my middle-grade mystic fist technique, earthquake fist. Yang Xiong roared. At the fourth level of the bright Qi realm, his 4 Qi seas began to circulate rapidly. Majestic and powerful true Yuan continuously flowed out. Seeing this, the people next to him could not help but be shocked. Senior brother Yang Xiong actually used earthquake rupture, and he even used a middle-grade mystic fist technique. These two techniques complement each other. Even if the third senior brother encountered these two techniques, I'm afraid he could only temporarily avoid them. Tianyang is now in the middle of the battle stage. Where is there a place for him to hide? Seeing this, Ling Yuhan's face also changed. Yang Xiong's killing technique was different from Chun Shan and Yang Zhao's. For Yang Xiong to be able to become the 4th inner disciple, his reputation was not undeserved. With this earthquake rupture and earthquake fist, there were only a few people in the entire Soaring Cloud sect who could withstand this attack. However, Master is invincible. Although Yang Xiong's fist is strong, it can't do anything to Master. Ling Yuhan's eyes flashed with a trace of confidence as she smiled. In her opinion, Tianyang, who taught her the Ice Emperor's heavenly sword technique and had unfathomable strength, was an invincible god of war. Not bad, ingeniously combining the power of the martial spirit with your fist technique. This earthquake rupture and earthquake fist's compatibility is not bad. This technique is indeed qualified for me to use the flowing cloud realm. Tianyang chuckled. Then, on the flaming wind sword, a light burst out. Flowing cloud sword technique. sword emerging from the flowing cloud. Like the flowing cloud, ethereal and difficult to find, like a thundercloud, unparalleled and terrifying. This was Tianyang's flowing cloud realm after combining his own understanding. In the next moment, a fist and a sword, the two killing techniques, collided together. Boom! A deafening explosion erupted from the epicenter of the collision between the two of them. Layers upon layers of shock waves caused the faces of the spectators to change. Just how intense was this collision? At this moment, Tianyang's 100 feet chi moved slightly. Then, an even more terrifying power burst out. What? Yang Xiong's pupils shrank. Just as he was about to mobilize his chi to counterattack, this flowing cloud realm had already successfully shattered his fist. Moreover, it was already in front of him. Looking at the flaming wind sword's tip that was only an inch away from his forehead, Yang Xiong had no doubt that if Tianyang's attack was just a little bit more ruthless, he would definitely have died. You won. Taking a step back, Yang Xiong let out a long sigh of relief and said. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled slightly. He put the flaming wind sword back into the scabbard and threw it back on his back. At this moment, a light flashed in Yang Xiong's eyes. He said what Tianyang wanted to know. Since you won, then, I won't say anything more. There is only one reason why Qinshan tried so hard to deal with you. Chapter 103. The Hidden Dragon Ancient Land is about to open, Yang Xiong said solemnly as he looked at Tianyang's face. Tianyang was stunned when he heard that. He did not know what the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land was. However, everyone was shocked when they heard those words. Senior Yang Xiong, are you saying that the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, which only opens once every 10 years, is about to open? Every time it opens, countless treasures will appear? Among the audience, the one with the strongest cultivation base, the third level of the Bright Chi realm, who was also ranked 12th on the stone wall, asked with a trembling voice. Everyone around him also revealed a glimmer of hope. Hearing this, Yang Xiong was slightly startled and then said, That's right. That's right. However, due to the pressure from the other sects, our Soaring Cloud sect's quota has been reduced from the original 50 to 30. Unless there's an accident, only the top 30 on the stone wall are qualified to enter the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Hearing this, many people revealed a trace of despair. Although their strength was not weak, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for them to rush into the top 30. Some of them even looked resentful. Despicable other sects. Originally, the Soaring Cloud sect wanted to develop on our own, but they wanted to interfere. 20 quotas. Gone just like that. The Hidden Dragon Ancient Land is an ancient land that can produce many geniuses. Gone just like that. A young man said angrily. Hearing this, Yang Xiong smiled bitterly. Indeed, it's immoral for the other sects to do this. However, in the Sky Continent, strength is everything. If we can't defeat them, what can we do? The only thing we can do is to defeat the other sects before the next opening of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. That's the only way we can wash away our shame, said Yang Xiong angrily. The others regained their composure when they heard that. At that moment, Tianyang patted Yang Xiong's shoulder with a blank face. Excuse me, what is the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land? As soon as he finished speaking, Tianyang felt as if the air around him had solidified. You don't know? After Yang Xiong's explanation, Tianyang finally understood what the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land was. In fact, Tianyang had seen many ancient mystery lands in his previous life. However, there were big and small ancient mystery lands. If he was not wrong, this dragon-lurking ancient land was one of the smaller ones. Otherwise, a 9th-rank sect like the Cloud-Soaring sect would absolutely not have the possibility to interfere. So that's how it is. That is to say, the heaven and earth spiritual chi and cultivation resources in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Ground are extremely rich. If a cultivator were to enter, his strength would increase tremendously in a short period of time. Tianyang nodded and said. Hearing this, Yang Xiong nodded in agreement. Soon after, Yang Xiong's face became much more serious, and a trace of gloom flashed between his brows. What I'm going to tell you next is the few sects that made our Soaring Cloud sect lose 20 spots for nothing. That's almost half of our total number. Originally, our Soaring Cloud sect was considered the overlord of the Arctic nation. Even the Arctic nation's royal family was somewhat afraid of the Soaring Cloud sect. However, there are many sects in the surrounding countries that are close to the Hidden Dragon ancient ground. The small sects are not even 9th rank sects, so we can ignore them. However, the big sects are completely different. Yang Xiong said in a deep voice, "Our Soaring Cloud sect's opponents are also our archenemies. There are 4 of them, namely the Earthen Way sect, the Wolf Tiger sect, the Snow Mountain sect, and the Blood Soul sect. The strongest is the Blood Soul sect. Most of their martial arts are evil martial skills. It is said that the evil blood palm used by the Bloody Hand Lu Jin that you killed was a martial skill of the Blood Soul sect," Yang Xiong said. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. The Soaring Cloud sect actually had 4 opponents? However, we are only ordinary inner disciples now, so we don't have to think too much. In the Hidden Dragon ancient ground, we will not encounter any elders or deacons. Our opponents in the Hidden Dragon ancient ground are the younger generation of these 4 sections. Unfortunately, if it wasn't for senior brother Yi Zhanling, we wouldn't even have 30 spots. Yang Xiong sighed. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded his head. If you are weak, you will be bullied. This was the rule of the entire continent. The Soaring Cloud sect's strength might not be inferior to the Blood Soul sect. However, when 1 or 2 of the 4 archenemy sects joined forces, the Soaring Cloud sect would not be able to contend against them. Moreover, these 4 sects were joining forces to deal with the Soaring Cloud sect. Yang Xiong, you previously said that you want us to beat the other sects before the next Hidden Dragon ancient ground opens. Then, why don't we kill all of their young geniuses in the Hidden Dragon ancient ground? A dangerous glint flashed in Tianyang's eyes as a faint smile hung on his face and he chuckled. Hearing this, Yang Xiong was stunned. He lifted his head and wanted to say something. However, he was attracted by the look in Tianyang's eyes. A drop of cold sweat seeped out from his forehead and slowly flowed down. Your suggestion might work. Looking into Tianyang's eyes, Yang Xiong unknowingly said something that he did not want to say. After knowing about the Hidden Dragon ancient ground, Tianyang did not stay at the battle arena any longer. He directly brought Ling Yuhan back to his residence. The Hidden Dragon ancient ground will only open in a month. In this month, I can at least break through to level 2 of the Bright Chi realm. Walking through the door, Tianyang thought to himself, however, level 2 of the Bright Chi realm will not be of much help to me. However, if Yuhan breaks through to the Bright Chi realm, with the strength of the Ice Emperor's Heaven Sword technique, Yuhan will at least have the ability to enter the top 20 of the inner disciples. Tianyang analyzed in his heart. Then, he turned around and said to Ling Yuhan, "Yuhan, how are your injuries now?" Ling Yuhan, who was walking behind Tianyang with her head lowered, was suddenly asked by Tianyang. Her face flushed red before she answered honestly. "It's almost done. My Jade Sea Sword is not to be trifled with. Although Yang Xiao is strong, he only suffered superficial wounds. Master's Wound Recovery Pill is very effective. I'll be healed in a short while. Superficial wounds are good. Then, do you think you can break through to the Bright Chi realm now?" Tianyang's lips curled into a smile as he said this. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan was stunned. Then, her eyes were filled with surprise. "Master, you mean I can break through to the Bright Chi realm now? Not only do you have to break through to the Bright Chi realm, but you also have to open up a sea of chi that is at least 800 feet wide." Tianyang smiled. Then, he opened his space bag and an elixir appeared in his hand. This is an elixir that assists in opening up the sea of chi. It took me a lot of effort to refine this Xian Qi elixir. With the help of the Xian Qi elixir, you can't let down the Ice Emperor's Heaven Sword technique. Tianyang smiled as he stuffed the Xian Qi elixir into Ling Yuhan's hand. Ling Yuhan's entire body shook as well, and a resolute glint flashed across his eyes. Whether it's Master or Senior Ice Emperor, I won't let them down. Chapter 104. Following the activation of the Ice Emperor's Heaven Sword technique, a mysterious power began to condense in Ling Yuhan's body. Is this the feeling of opening up the Sea of Qi? It feels amazing. Sensing the changes in her body, Ling Yuhan exclaimed in surprise. Although her talent was not weak, it was her first time opening up the Sea of Qi. After all, Tianyang was probably the only person in history who was able to travel through time and space for 10,000 years and be reborn 10,000 years later. This is the foundation of the Sea of Qi. Yes, it's time to expand it to the limit. Seeing the tiny vortex that appeared in her dantian like a seed, Ling Yuhan immediately understood and circulated the vital essence in her body rapidly. As the vital essence surged into the Sea of Qi, which was only a few inches wide, began to expand rapidly. 10 feet, 20 feet. In just a few breaths, it had sprinted to 20 feet. So fast. Even Ling Yuhan herself was shocked by the speed of her own opening. However, she still calmed her mind and continued sprinting. Yuhan's talent is not weak, and with the help of the Ice Emperor's Heaven Sword technique, even if she can't reach 89 feet like the Ice Emperor after opening up the Sea of Qi this time, however, opening up an 80-foot Sea of Qi shouldn't be a problem. A Sea of Qi of this level can completely crush almost everyone in the Lingyun sect. Tianyang sat cross-legged in the room next door and sensed the fluctuations coming from next door as he spoke softly. In just a minute, she has already opened up to 50 feet. This momentum is not bad. However, after 50 feet, every foot is a threshold. If she wants to cross over and continue expanding, it will be much more difficult than sprinting to 50 feet previously. Tianyang said softly, "This can only depend on herself. Even I can't help." After that, Tianyang closed his eyes and carefully sensed. Although he was unable to directly take action, using the terrifying spiritual strength at the peak of the heavenly completion stage, it wasn't impossible for him to warn Ling Yuhan when she was about to make a mistake. In addition, Tianyang had personally refined the Xian Qi pill to assist her. When Tianyang said that Ling Yuhan could open up a Sea of Qi of 800 feet, it was still a little exaggerated. In reality, it should be around 85 feet. It's so difficult. The first 700 feet weren't that difficult, but after 700 feet it suddenly became so difficult. Ling Yuhan's face was dripping with sweat. The expansion of the Sea of Qi in her dantian had also slowed down significantly. Every inch he expanded was like an indestructible wall. No matter what he did, he was unable to move forward even a little bit. Fortunately, the Ice Emperor's Heavenly Sword technique was worthy of being a low-grade, heavenly level technique. Its power was extremely terrifying. Ling Yuhan had practiced it for so long, and with her innate talent, she had already practiced the introductory chapter to the point of perfection. However, even so, Ling Yuhan was finally unable to hold on after expanding to 78 feet. No matter what, it was difficult to continue advancing. Now, take the Xian Qi pill immediately. At this moment, Tianyang's voice sounded in Ling Yuhan's mind. His voice was solemn. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan, who was about to give up, suddenly shivered. The next moment, Ling Yuhan's eyes widened. This is spiritual sound transmission. Master's spiritual strength is actually so powerful. In her current situation, it was impossible for ordinary true essence sound transmissions to transmit information to her. In this situation, besides a soul sound transmission, it was impossible for her to hear anything else. Xian Qi pill. Yes, Master personally refined the Xian Qi pill. After receiving Tianyang's reminder, Ling Yuhan immediately came to his senses and threw the profound qi pill that he had been holding in his hand into his mouth. Just as the xian qi pill entered her mouth, it immediately turned into a pool of gentle medicinal liquid. Subsequently, it fell into Ling Yuhan's dantian. Upon contact with the true essence, it immediately turned into a ball of xian huang qi current and rapidly spiraled in Ling Yuhan's qi si. After the 78 feet qi si came into contact with this xian huang qi current, it seemed to have received some great nourishment and expanded once again. 80 feet, 81 feet, 82 feet. Now, even if it was Ling Yuhan's first time opening up her qi si and had no experience, she should know that now she was about to make the final push. Her true essence, which was gradually approaching the first level of the bright qi realm, circulated rapidly and Ling Yuhan's qi si also began its final expansion. 83 feet, 84 feet. Under the effect of the xian qi pill, the qi si had been expanding at a slow but steady rate. After 15 minutes, Ling Yuhan's qi si had finally absorbed all the xian huang qi current and stopped at 89 feet. Yes, even the Ice Emperor of the past, who was at the heavenly ascension state and was an emperor, only opened up an 89 feet qi si. An 89 feet qi si, unless you meet a rare genius that only appears once in 10,000 years, no one in the entire continent can surpass it. Sensing the size of Ling Yuhan's qi si, Tianyang could not help but exclaim in admiration. After all, the appearance of his 1,000 feet qi si was a complete accident. If he, the Tianji Sword Emperor, had not been reborn, it would have been an ordinary 81 feet qi si. At this level, although he was still considered a top genius in the continent, he was still slightly weaker than super geniuses like the Ice Emperor and the Yuan Emperor. However, Ling Yuhan was only opening up her qi si for the first time, and she was already able to reach such a level. This level of talent was considered rare in the world. 89 feet. At this moment, Ling Yuhan was also staring blankly at the size of her qi si. She had never thought that her qi si could actually reach such a size. One must know that even the number one inner disciple of the Soaring Cloud sect, Yi Zhanling, had only opened up a qi si of 600 feet, maybe even a little more. However, in the wonderful world of martial arts in the Heaven continent, although a qi si of 600 feet was not ordinary, it was still just an ordinary genius. And she, Ling Yuhan, had surpassed Yi Zhanling by more than 20 feet. But why do I feel that my limit is not yet like this? Suddenly, an indescribable radiance flashed through Ling Yuhan's eyes. The medicinal effects of the profound qi pill had already been exhausted, and the effects of the introductory chapter of the Ice Emperor's heavenly sword technique had also come to an end. However, Ling Yuhan had a feeling that she still had something that she had not displayed yet. Martial spirit. Ice spiritual fox, out. Ling Yuhan's eyes suddenly flashed with a ray of light, and in the next moment, the upper-grade Ice Spiritual Fox martial spirit exploded. The surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped by 10 degrees in an instant. Even Tianyang, who was next door, could not help but change his expression at this moment. As for the Ice Spiritual Fox's shadow, it also exploded with a terrifying light, and the shackles on Ling Yuhan's bloodline were also opened for a moment. In this moment, the size of Ling Yuhan's qi si had also completed a leap from 89 feet to 90 feet. However, in the next room, the moment Tianyang felt this fluctuation, his calm face suddenly revealed an astonished expression. His eyes widened, and in Tianyang's eyes, there was complete astonishment. This fluctuation, in the next moment, from Tianyang's mouth, 4 words were spat out. His words were filled with endless shock. Chapter 105. 9 Nether Saint Body. After sensing the source of the fluctuation, Tianyang could not help but roar in shock. No one knew better than the Tianji Sword Emperor the origin of the terrifying fluctuation that flashed across Ling Yuhan's body. The 9 Nether Saint Body, also known as the 9 Nether Mysterious Ice Body, was one of the most unique physiques in the Tianshao continent. The people who had the 9 nether saint body, from ancient times to the present, were all terrifying geniuses who shocked the world without exception. Having the 9 nether saint body meant that the person had an extraordinary talent for ice, nether, and a series of other attributes. It could be said that he could master it with just a little bit. This kind of terrifying talent was only seen once in 1,000 years, no, once in 10,000 years. It was unexpected that the first disciple that Tianyang had taken in after his rebirth would have such a talent. If this kind of talent was known by others, it would definitely cause countless people to be greedy, covetous, and even murderous. Although there was no news that the 9 nether saint body could be taken away, just a little bit of hope was enough to make countless people greedy. Well, the seal on Yuhan's body is very unusual. Presumably, the reason why she burst out the power of the 9 nether saint body this time was because of the opening of her sea of qi. Tianyang shook his head and chuckled. In that very short period of time, almost in an instant, Tianyang saw that Ling Yuhan had the 9 nether saint body. Now, the seal had unleashed its power again, completely suppressing the power of the 9 nether saint body. Therefore, even if Tianyang checked, he would not be able to see it. If the power of the soul at the peak of the heavenly completion realm was like this, let alone other people. Of course, if he was determined to check, Tianyang could still see it. But would Tianyang? Yuhan has cultivated the Ice Emperor's heavenly sword skill. The sea of qi that she has opened is 10 feet bigger than the Ice Emperor's. A sea of qi of 900 feet is almost enough to enter the list of the top geniuses in the Tianshao continent since ancient times. Not only is the 9 nether saint body powerful, but my disciple's talent is also extraordinary. Tianyang chuckled and sensed that the fluctuations next door were gradually calming down. He closed his eyes and entered a state of cultivation. Ling Yuhan wanted to open up her qi sea and step into the first level of the bright qi realm. As for him, he wanted to open up another qi sea and step into the second level of the bright qi realm. The reason why Tianyang didn't practice it before was that he was afraid that his sea of qi would be too overbearing and rob Ling Yuhan of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth that she used to open up her sea of qi. Now Ling Yuhan had already opened up her sea of qi, and it was at the peak of the 900 feet sea of qi. Naturally, Tianyang did not need to continue to worry. The speed at which a sea of qi of this level could absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was extremely terrifying. Of course, it was much slower than his 100 feet sea of qi. After opening the first sea of qi, it will be much easier to open the second one. But I don't know what will happen after I open up the second sea of qi. Tianyang's lips curled into a smile. Then, his true yuan began to circulate. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the surroundings began to rush into Tianyang's body. The sea of qi continued to fluctuate. Tianyang's qi began to rise steadily. Soon, the limit of the first level of the bright qi realm was reached by Tianyang. Next, it was time to open up the second sea of qi and step into the second level of the bright qi realm. Tianyang took a deep breath. Then, according to the cultivation method of the divine desolate heaven spirit art, he began to open up the sea of qi. The divine desolate heavenly spirit art was a cultivation technique personally created by Tianyang. Its power was incomparably terrifying, and the difficulty of opening a second qi sea was largely dependent on the cultivation technique. With a terrifying cultivation method like the divine desolate heaven spirit art, Tianyang could easily open it up. 1 minute, 2 minutes, after 3 minutes, Tianyang suddenly opened his eyes. His qi exploded once again. The majestic true yuan vibrated rapidly. The objects around him seemed to be trembling as well. This was just Tianyang's true yuan vibrating involuntarily. Yet, it affected the objects around him. Opening up the second sea of qi at the second level of the bright qi realm is actually so easy? Tianyang looked at his palm in disbelief. The power that surged out from his body meant that Tianyang had indeed reached the second level of the bright Qi realm. Moreover, my true yuan has not only doubled. With the opening of the second sea of Qi, the quality of my true yuan has increased by a lot. It has been purified and condensed a lot. I'm afraid that just the power of my true yuan alone is enough to crush experts at the 4th or 5th level of the bright Qi realm. Tianyang said in shock. He was not like Ling Yuhan, who had a unique physique like the 9 nether saint body. The body of the head of the Tian family, Tianyang, was indeed that of an ordinary person. The only special thing about him was that he was born with a crippled meridian. Well, it's a good thing for me to have a strong cultivation. This sea of Qi is worthy of its name. It has such an effect. Tianyang exclaimed in admiration. Then, he continued to cultivate in seclusion to consolidate his cultivation. As the master and disciple continued to cultivate, they occasionally went out to do missions. At the same time, they also found a few fools to rob the power of their martial souls. The month passed by quickly. Ling Yuhan had the 9 nether saint body. Although it was sealed, the 90-foot sea of Qi was not to be trifled with. With only the cultivation of the first level of the bright Qi realm, Ling Yuhan was almost invincible in the inner sanctum. Her style was only slightly inferior to that of her master, Tianyang. Therefore, when Yang Xiao refused to admit defeat and came knocking on their door several times, Ling Yuhan directly took action and suppressed the 13th disciple of the inner sanctum, who had once injured her. Therefore, Ling Yuhan was given a slot to enter the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Tomorrow is the opening day of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Standing in the middle of the Soaring Cloud Sect's inner sect, a middle-aged elder, who was at the 7th level of the bright Qi realm, said loudly as he looked around at the crowd. The Blood Soul sect has joined forces with the Wolf Tiger sect and other sects to squeeze out Soaring Cloud sect's slot. I hope that you will be able to gain something in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land and defeat the 4 sects before the next opening of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. The middle-aged man said loudly. Hearing this, everyone agreed. Tianyang and Ling Yuhan stood in the front row and looked at the middle-aged man who was mobilizing the inner sanctum. Then, they turned their eyes and saw a young man who was carrying a sword on his left. The white robe of the inner sanctum of the Soaring Cloud sect fluttered in the wind. He had a handsome face and a sharp aura burst out from his body. His cultivation of the 5th level of the bright Qi realm surpassed everyone present and was second only to the elder who was mobilizing the inner sanctum. This person was the most prestigious person in the inner sanctum of the Soaring Cloud sect. Chapter 106. Yi Zhanling. When Tianyang saw this person, his eyes narrowed. This person's talent might be weaker than his and Ling Yuhan's. However, this person's spirit and willpower were extremely strong. Even if his talent was only above average, if he had the opportunity in the future, his achievements would not be a small matter. The Lingyun school is actually able to produce such a person. Not bad. Tianyang praised in his heart. He had always heard of Yi Zhanling, the number 1 inner disciple. Now that he had seen him, it was indeed true. There are countless treasures in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, and the spiritual Qi is abundant. However, there are also many dangers. Not only are there dangers in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, but there are also dangers from other sections. Therefore, I, Elder Wu, am responsible for your safety outside the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. However, the dangers in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land are not from the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. They are from your opponents. They are from the other sects, especially the 4 great sects. Elder Wu said with a serious expression. Hearing this, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Indeed, the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land was a mystery land, and it was important for the sects to become stronger. If they could grow stronger in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, it would be a great help to their sections. However, if they could kill the geniuses from the other sects, it would be a great help to their sects as well. People's hearts were sinister and they had to be cautious. That's all I have to say. Everything depends on your performance in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Elder Wu said loudly. After that, he led everyone on a giant eagle and headed towards the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. At the same time, many disciples and elders from the other sects in the Arctic state and even the neighboring sects were heading towards the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Even if the level of this ancient mystery land was not high, it was still a major event that could stir up a storm in the entire Snowgale state and the surrounding areas. There are many treasures in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, but there are also many dangers. I want to make the dissipating pill, but the elixir pavilion in Yun City is still lacking. There are many herbs that I have not found. Perhaps I can find them all in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Tianyang sat cross-legged on the eagle's back with his eyes slightly narrowed. He felt the fierce wind blowing past his cheeks, but his body remained motionless. Ling Yuhan, who was next to him, also looked nervous. Tianyang smiled when he saw this. Although there are many dangers in this dragon-hidden ancient land, there are also many opportunities. Given your strength, even if you cannot stand out, you should be able to protect yourself. If you really can't do it, then this is a command medallion that I refined in the past month. It contains the power of my 3 full-powered attacks. If you encounter a crisis that you can't resolve, then use your true essence to activate it. No one below the 6th level of the Bright Chi realm can withstand it. Tianyang smiled faintly. He did not care about the 28 inner disciples beside him at all. He took out the attack token that he had refined from his interspatial bag and handed it to Ling Yuhan. These words weren't false. Although the attack token that Tianyang had refined could only be used 3 times and would be scrapped after it was used, each attack contained Tianyang's full strength. The first attack was Tianyang's Flowing Cloud Sword. The second attack was the peak level of the Flowing Cloud Sword concept. The third attack was the most powerful, Tianyang's strongest move, the first form of the Sky Peak Sword art. Even though he had already pushed his martial soul's power to the extreme, and even executed the Blood Fiend Palm, which was no weaker than a profound rank peerless martial skill, he still died under the second attack of that level. The third attack was even more so. Tianyang said that no one below the 6th level of the Qi realm could withstand it, but in reality, he had underestimated it. After all, it was a heaven-class middle-class sword art. The first attack is the weakest, but it is enough to deal with an average 4th level Bright Qi realm. The 2nd, 5th, 3rd, and 6th level Bright Qi realm cultivators will be able to withstand and even injure them, Tianyang warned. This disciple of his was the closest person to him since he had come to this world. Even if Ling Yuhan only had an average talent, Tianyang had to ensure her safety. Tianyang had spent a lot of effort to engrave his attack into the token. For this, Tianyang had spent more than a week's effort. After all, Tianyang's main job was martial arts and alchemy. He did not know much about weapon forging. Thank you, Master. Ling Yuhan was pleasantly surprised when he received the token that was filled with a tyrannical offensive aura. A deep sense of gratitude welled up in his heart. Tianyang had spent a lot of effort to make this for her. Master has been so good to me, I must repay him. From now on, I will follow Master. Ling Yuhan's face flushed red. She said firmly in her heart. She did not realize that her last sentence was no different from giving her body to Master, but at this moment, an untimely voice sounded. Humph, a 6th level Bright Qi realm cultivator can withstand and even injure him? Tianyang, it's true that your talent isn't weak, but you're just a piece of trash who only awakened a low-grade yellow-ranked martial spirit. Martial spirit determines a person's true talent. Even if your comprehension of martial arts is not bad, your martial arts talent is trash. What's the use? Moreover, you are only at the 2nd level of the Bright Qi realm. How dare you speak so arrogantly? This token is not worth it. A young man stood up and looked down at Tianyang from above as he mocked. Then, the young man snuck a glance at Ling Yuhan, and a look of lust flashed across his eyes. Ling Yuhan's level of beauty was something he naturally coveted. Therefore, Tianyang was filled with jealousy towards Ling Yuhan's master, who was close to Ling Yuhan. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyelids and looked at the young man. His heart did not waver. He only smiled. What is this fifth-level bright Qi realm cultivator's name? Then, what are you trying to say? Tianyang smiled. Hearing this, the young man was stunned. Then, his face darkened. In his opinion, Tianyang was only at the second level of the bright Qi realm with trash talent. But Tianyang did not even know his name. One must know that he was ranked fifth on the stone wall of the inner sect. A second-level bright Qi realm cultivator dares to say that his attack can match a sixth-level bright Qi realm cultivator? Aren't you afraid of being exposed? It just so happens that this eagle needs some time to reach the hidden dragon ancient grounds. Why don't I spend some time teaching you what it means to keep a low profile? The young man snorted. The inner energy of the fifth level of the bright Qi realm circulated rapidly. It was as if he was about to attack. If you can break this move of mine, then I will admit that you have the ability to match a sixth-level bright Qi realm cultivator. The young man said slowly. Although he said that, he was laughing coldly in his heart. In his opinion, Tianyang could match Qin Shan at most. Not to mention him. Wait a moment, Tianyang will definitely not be able to do anything to his attack. This way, Tianyang's master would be humiliated in front of Ling Yuhan. Ling Yuhan would definitely be disappointed in Tianyang and fall into his arms. If you don't say anything, then I will take it that you agree. Take my fist. Low-grade mystic class, flaming fist. The young man roared. Hearing this, the faces of the spectators changed. They all cursed in their hearts. Shameless. Tianyang was 3 levels lower than the young man. But this young man actually used a low-grade mystic class martial skill. Not only was he bullying the weak, he was even shameless enough to launch a sneak attack. You don't speak fast, but your attack speed is not slow. But it's too weak. Tianyang chuckled and casually pointed his finger. Telepathic finger sword. A ray of light flashed. The sharp ray of light instantly pierced through the young man's flaming fist, completely shattering it. In the next moment, the ray of light even drew a line across the young man's throat. Small droplets of blood seeped out. The young man's face suddenly became pale. His neck was injured. In other words, Chapter 107. Idiot. Yang Xiong sneered when he saw this. This fifth-ranked youth couldn't even beat him, but he was defeated by Tianyang in a few punches and kicks. Now, after a month, Tianyang's strength must have improved. Even Yang Xiong would not be able to last more than a few rounds against Tianyang. In the entire Soaring Cloud sect, only the number 1 inner disciple, Yi Zhanling, could compete with Tianyang. In the end, rank 5 was an idiot. He had taken a fancy to Tianyang's disciple and even provoked Tianyang. It seemed like Tianyang was lucky that he did not kill rank 5 with a single finger. Tianyang. You bastard! You are asking for death. Holong's neck was scratched by Tianyang's finger. The veins on his face were bulging. He could not react in time. If Tianyang wanted to kill him, Tianyang could have easily cut his neck when he broke his flaming fist. Shut up. We have not even reached the hidden dragon ancient land, and you are already fighting among yourselves. What will happen when we reach the hidden dragon ancient land? The hidden dragon ancient land is an ancient mystery land with many sects participating in it. It is fine if you embarrass yourself in front of your own sect, but if you embarrass yourself in front of other sects, it will be more than that. You might even lose your life. Elder Wu, who was sitting on the eagle's head and directing the direction, sensed the movement behind him. He turned his head and shouted angrily. Hearing this, Ho Long, who had just become furious, immediately became listless. Elder Wu was at Clear Qi Realm Stage 7. Ho Long, who was only at Clear Qi Realm Stage 5, would not be able to withstand even one attack from Elder Wu. In Sky Cloud's continent, strength was everything, strong cultivators were respected. Before, he had thought he was a strong cultivator, so he had humiliated Tianyang. Now, after Tianyang had taught him a lesson, he had been taught a lesson by an even stronger cultivator. Even though Ho Long was arrogant and unruly, he could only sit down obediently. However, he glared furiously at Tianyang, as though he was about to spit fire. At this moment, Yi Zhanling recalled the battle that happened in the blink of an eye, and his heart trembled. What? However, the people who understood Tianyang's strength were in the minority. Most people did not know about Tianyang's battle record. After Tianyang defeated Yang Xiao, the battle between him and Yang Xiong was not a formal duel. It was just a few moves, although it could be said that Tianyang's strength could be seen from it. However, the news was not widespread. Most people's understanding of Tianyang was still stuck at the time when Tianyang killed Chen Shan and 7 people with one sword strike more than a month ago. Although that sort of strength was equally terrifying, it was simply too mythical. Naturally, many people were unwilling to believe it. This was the case for the 5th level of the Bright Qi realm. However, the result of disbelief was obvious to all. Yi Zhanling looked at Tianyang in shock. Although he had heard of Tianyang, he did not put it to heart. However, this Tianyang's strength was actually so terrifying. Previously, Ho Long, who was ranked 5th, did not use his full strength. He did not even use his martial soul. He only used his Bright Qi realm cultivation and a profound rank martial skill. However, if Ho Long did not use his full strength, Tianyang did not use it either. Yi Zhanling knew that Tianyang's strongest skill was the sword, just like him. However, Tianyang's previous attack was a finger technique. Just one finger was enough to instantly kill Ho Long, who had used all of his true essence and profound rank martial skill and at least 80% of his strength. This kind of strength was terrifying. I never thought that in the few months that I was away on a mission, the sect would have another super genius. Yi Zhanling looked deeply at Tianyang and said in a low voice, "If this is the case, we can escape from the oppression of the 4 major sects in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land." Among the major sects in the Arctic state, the Soaring Cloud sect was the strongest. However, although the Blood Soul sect was an evil sect, they were only slightly weaker. In this opening of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, the 4 major sects that were going against the Soaring Cloud sect were the top sects in the Arctic state. One of them was even from another country. These 4 sects were all top sects in the 9th grade sect. Once they joined forces, the Soaring Cloud sect would be at a disadvantage, even though they were stronger than each of them. After all, although there was a difference between the 9th grade sects, the difference was usually not that big. Unless the Soaring Cloud sect had 3 Origin Transformation Realm experts and became an 8th grade sect, they would not be afraid of the combined oppression of the 4 major sections. However, there was no such thing now. However, Yi Zhanling saw hope from Tianyang. However, for the Tianji Sword Emperor, this hope was too small. The eagle's speed was not slow. Furthermore, the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land was not too far away from the Soaring Cloud sect. After killing Ho Long with the telepathic sword finger, Tianyang was not bored for long before he felt a vibration coming from the eagle. It was obvious that the eagle had arrived. The 30 Soaring Cloud sect inner disciples slowly stood up. Ho Long, who had been lightly injured by Tianyang, also stood up. He glared at Tianyang with hatred and jumped off the eagle. After the 30 disciples and Elder Wu had all landed, Fei Ying let out a long cry and flapped his wings to fly away. The 30 disciples and the Elder all stood up straight and looked at the crowd in front of them. The Hidden Dragon Ancient Land was the largest ancient mystery land in the area. As long as one was qualified to participate, they would all come. Some of the weaker sects were not even in the eyes of the Soaring Cloud sect. Their strongest disciple might not even be as strong as Ho Long. Therefore, there was no need to pay attention to such a sect. However, the people of the Soaring Cloud sect were most concerned about. The four great sects were the Snow Mountain sect, the Wolf Tiger sect, the Earthen Way sect, and the strongest and most domineering Blood Soul sect. Among the four great sects, the Blood Soul sect, the Wolf Tiger sect, and the Earthen Way sect were all from the Arctic state. However, the Snow Mountain sect was from the neighboring country of the Arctic state, the Sky Moon country. Although such a force was a little special, it was not enough to make the Soaring Cloud sect afraid. However, if the Snow Mountain sect and the Blood Soul sect joined forces, it would be a headache for the Soaring Cloud sect. After all, the Snow Mountain sect had nothing to do with the Arctic state. Even if the Snow Mountain sect's disciples targeted the Soaring Cloud sect's disciples in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, the Soaring Cloud sect could not do anything about it. However, it was the same on the other hand. The corners of Tianyang's mouth twitched as his indifferent gaze swept across the various sections. Apart from the four great sects and the Soaring Cloud sect, there were many other people in the mountain range that hid the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. In total, there were hundreds of them. At this moment, an evil and creepy laugh came from in front of them. A middle-aged man wearing a blood-red robe with a creepy curse carved on his face slowly walked out from the Blood Soul sex group. The person said with a weird smile on his face, "The people from the Soaring Cloud sect. You're finally here. How is it? Does it feel good to have 20 spots deducted?" Hearing this, not only the 30 young Soaring Cloud sect's disciples, but even Elder Wu's face darkened. This matter was the Soaring Cloud sect's sore spot. However, this guy actually came out and lifted it up again. Without a doubt, this was a slap to their faces. Elder Wu's face turned cold as he stared at the middle-aged man in front of him. The true origin in his body surged, as if he was going to attack at any moment. Seeing this, a hint of fear flashed through the middle-aged man's eyes. However, he still sneered. "That's true. What's the Soaring Cloud sect? It's the magnanimous leader of the Arctic state's sects. Isn't it great that such a sect contributed 20 spots to the Arctic state's benefit?" The middle-aged man laughed maniacally. Hearing this, Elder Wu's face darkened again. His fingernails almost dug into his flesh. At this moment, a young voice slowly sounded. "How many spots did my Soaring Cloud sect lose?" "Your Blood Soul sect, no. The four great sects will. How many people will die?" Chapter 108. The number of people you lose will be the same as the number of people from your four sections. Tianyang's faint laughter resounded across the mountain range. Everyone was silent for a moment before they turned to look at Tianyang with mocking gazes. Did he know who he was talking about? The Earthen Way sect, the Snow Mountain sect, the Wolf Tiger sect, and the Blood Soul sect were all the top sects among the 9th-rank sect. They had many talented disciples. Before Tianyang made his move, they could not see how high Tianyang's cultivation level was. However, they could tell from his young face. Tianyang's age was definitely not old. In the world of cultivation, except for a few monstrous geniuses, age and strength were usually linked. If one was not old, then one's strength would definitely be weak. If he was not strong, then he dared to say such arrogant words in front of such a powerful sect. He said that the number of people who lost their spots would be the same as the number of people who would die. In the eyes of the crowd, this brat had clearly lost his mind due to anger. That was why he would say such a thing. Hearing this, the red-robed middle-aged man narrowed his eyes and looked at Tianyang. Your Lingyun sect is not bad to have such a bold disciple. However, in a situation where you're not strong enough to speak such arrogant words, you're courting death. The red-robed middle-aged man sneered. Hearing this, Elder Wu's face darkened. Chow, do you believe that if you say one more word, I will kill you right here and now? Hearing this, the red-robed middle-aged man's pupils shrank and he fell silent. His cultivation level was only at the peak of the Clear Chi realm. Facing Elder Wu, who was at the Clear Chi realm of the Clear Chi realm, there was no way he could fight back. However, The red-robed middle-aged man and Elder Wu had the same cultivation level. Although he was afraid of Elder Wu, the disciples behind Elder Wu were different. So the Lingyun sect, the leader of the sects in the Arctic state, only has this kind of daring and reckless trash? A sharp sneer came from behind the red-robed middle-aged man. A young man wearing the same red robe came to the red-robed middle-aged man's side and looked at Tianyang mockingly. "Kid, your courage is not bad, but how high is your cultivation? Even if it's your Lingyun school's strongest, Yi Zhanling, you wouldn't dare to say such words. You're just a piece of trash who only knows how to show off." The blood-robed youth sneered. His entire body was filled with blood qi. From the aura he exuded, one could tell that this youth was also at the peak of the bright qi realm. Compared to Yi Zhanling, who was half a step into the 6th stage, he was only a hair's breadth away. "Hey, that's the Blood Soul sect's strongest genius of this generation, Chao Kuangying. Chao Kuangying is the most powerful person in this generation of the Blood Soul sect. He's only 18 years old, but he's already learned the Blood Soul sect's middle profound level martial skill. He's even learned the high profound level martial skill. Plus, the martial spirit he awakened is a low-grade mystic martial spirit. With the three added together, even among the countless young cultivators in the Arctic state, Chao Kuangying is one of the best. This kid has offended Chao Kuangying. He's courting death." Seeing the blood-robed youth appear, some of the disciples from the smaller sects were shocked and then exclaimed. In the end, in order to flatter Chao Kuangying, the disciples from the smaller sects ridiculed Tianyang. After all, Tianyang was too young. With such a face, he should be around 15 years old. What kind of cultivation could a 15-year-old have? Originally, in my opinion, a trash like you is not worthy of my attention. Chao Kuangying's eyes narrowed slightly. He seemed to enjoy the exclamations of the disciples from the smaller sections. He didn't even look at Tianyang and sneered. "However, your stupidity has successfully attracted my attention. Since you're a disciple of the Soaring Cloud sect and dare to be so arrogant, then I'll represent the Soaring Cloud sect to teach you the immensity of heaven and earth. Break your own legs and I can spare your life. Otherwise," Chao Kuangying sneered. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyes moved slightly. He just couldn't stand the way the Blood Soul sect did things. When he saw that Chao Kuangying's cultivation was at the peak of the Bright Qi realm, the corner of his mouth curled into a smile. Bright Qi realm level 5 was nothing to Tianyang, who had reached the peak of the Bright Qi realm level 2. Once unleashed, Tianyang would only need to use the Flowing Cloud sword art that he had improved a few times, or directly use his strongest move, the Sky Extreme sword art, to instantly kill Chao Kuangying. Someone who could be easily killed by Tianyang was actually asking him to break his legs? Ridiculous, extremely ridiculous. "Kid, how dare you ignore me?" Seeing that Tianyang only smiled and ignored him, Chao Kuangying's face turned gloomy. At this moment, the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land had not opened yet. He still had a lot of energy left. "Since you're courting death, then don't blame me." Blood Qi Palm. The blood qi that permeated Chao Kuangying's body suddenly condensed into Chao Kuangying's hand. The true yuan of the Bright Qi realm level 5 surged in his body and condensed into a powerful force. He directly attacked Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang slightly squinted his eyes and snorted. The true yuan in his body circulated. Since Chao Kuangying was courting death, then don't blame him. Chao Kuangying, you lost to me last time. Forget it now. With me here, you still dare to attack the disciples of the Soaring Cloud sect? At this moment, a cold snort was heard. Yi Zhanling suddenly stretched out his hand and the true yuan of the half-step Bright Qi realm level 6 exploded. In the next moment, the blood qi in Chao Kuangying's body suddenly stagnated. Then, Chao Kuangying turned his head and looked at Yi Zhanling's angry eyes. He snorted. However, he still withdrew the blood qi palm. A year ago, Chao Kuangying and Yi Zhanling had fought. At that time, their cultivation levels were about the same. However, Yi Zhanling still defeated Chao Kuangying. Now, Yi Zhanling's cultivation level was slightly higher than Chao Kuangying's. Once they fought, Chao Kuangying might not be his match. Therefore, Chao Kuangying was extremely afraid of Yi Zhanling. Humph! I'll let you live for a few more hours. When we enter the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, I don't believe that you can still be together with your senior brother Yi Zhanling. Chao Kuangying snorted and withdrew his right hand that was about to attack. He coldly looked at Tianyang and his eyes were filled with endless killing intent. Hearing this, Tianyang calmly smiled. If you dare to come, I'll accompany you. Hearing this, Chao Kuangying's face suddenly twitched. He then stomped his feet and returned to the group of Blood Soul sect disciples. At this moment, the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, which was surrounded by many sects, suddenly shone brightly. The shocking light almost covered the entire mountain range. An unparalleled aura burst out. It was so strong that even the high-level Bright Chi realm cultivators could only be suppressed. It directly caused the movements of the crowd to stop. Then, the eyes of the leaders of the various sects surged with a hint of fanaticism. Chapter 109. The Hidden Dragon Ancient Land has opened. All of you go in quickly. A door of light opened from the originally ordinary little basin in the mountains. Upon seeing this, the leading elders of the various large sects were all startled. Soon after, they shouted out loudly. Hearing this, the disciples of the various sects immediately reacted. They circulated their true origin and rushed into the light door. The disciples of the Soaring Cloud sect were not slow to react. They immediately used their own skills and rushed into the light door as fast as they could. After 15 minutes, other than the elders of the various sects, there were no other disciples outside the light door. After another 15 minutes, the light door slowly closed. This is the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land? In a flash, Tianyang arrived on a field. He looked around and was shocked. The spiritual energy here is much more abundant than the outside world. If I cultivate here, I will be able to open my third sea of Qi in less than a week. Tianyang was shocked for a while before he recovered. In his previous life, he had seen many secret realms like this. Even if Tianyang was shocked, he did not need to be for too long. Then, Tianyang remembered what Chao Kuangying of the Blood Soul sect said to him before he entered the light door. Kid, in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, no one can help you. You are dead meat. Then, Chao Kuangying stepped into the light door with him, and arrived at the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Yuhan is gone. It seems like the space in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land is not very stable. Otherwise, I would not have been lost so easily, Tianyang muttered. Then, he took a few steps forward. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat and he looked at a piece of land beside him. There was nothing special about the land. However, on this piece of land, there was a medicinal herb that was emitting a gentle aura. A spiritual herb. It is the 3 spiritual herb that can be used to make the vitality pill. This Hidden Dragon Ancient Land is not bad. Tianyang smirked. He stretched out his hand and sucked the spiritual herb over. This herb was called the 3 spiritual herb, and it was one of the herbs that Tianyang lacked. Then, something unexpected happened. Roar! A furious roar came from Tianyang's side. Tianyang's expression changed slightly. In the next moment, a huge magical beast rushed out and arrived in front of Tianyang. Seeing this magical beast, Tianyang was momentarily stunned. Then, he grinned and said, "It's actually a second-rank magical beast. It's just a stalk of 3 spiritual grass, yet it has a second-rank magical beast guarding it. This Hidden Dragon Ancient Land is indeed filled with danger and opportunity. However, this small crocodile is not enough to eat me." Tianyang chuckled and turned his wrist to put the 3 spiritual herbs back into his interspatial bag. Subsequently, the wind flame sword on his back popped out and landed in Tianyang's hand. In the next moment, Tianyang suddenly stomped his feet and jumped a step back. At this moment, The crocodile's sharp claws slapped the place where Tianyang had been standing. With a slap, the soil was smashed and mud splattered everywhere. This small crocodile's physical strength is really impressive. Normal second-rank magical beasts are not this strong. It seems that it has a lot to do with the rich spiritual energy in the hidden dragon ancient land. Tianyang muttered to himself. Then, he smiled and landed on the ground. Using the dragon suppression step, he charged towards the crocodile. Roar! The crocodile roared and a powerful aura exploded from its body. However, Tianyang did not care. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the crocodile. In the next moment, he slashed out with the wind flame sword. Chi. The sharp edge of the wind flame sword slashed on the crocodile's scales, but did not cause any damage. Instead, it created a series of sparks. At this moment, the crocodile suddenly reacted. With a roar, it waved its huge claws and charged towards Tianyang. Hey, your defense is not bad. However, you are still 100 years too early to do anything to me. Using the dragon suppression step, Tianyang's figure immediately retreated to 1 foot behind the crocodile. This distance allowed him to narrowly avoid the crocodile's claws. However, the crocodile was still within the range of Tianyang's attack. This level of familiarity with the movement and control of the battle was something that even Elder Wu could not compare to. Alright, the warm-up is over. This small crocodile, it's time to say goodbye. Tianyang chuckled. Light gathered on the wind flame sword in his hand. True Yuan surged and the heavenly sword was attached to it. In the next moment, the flowing cloud sword technique was unleashed. A resplendent sword light erupted from the flaming wind sword. With the flaming wind sword as well as the strength of the heavenly sun, this ordinary drifting cloud sword technique wasn't any weaker than the drifting cloud sword at the start. In the next moment, under the crocodile's incredulous gaze, the sword radiance cut through the crocodile's body, splitting it in half. Blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the ground red. Tianyang did not bother with it. He kicked off the ground and left the area. Dealing with a Class 2 demonic beast that was only equivalent to a 2nd or 3rd stage Bright Chi Realm cultivator, Tianyang did not need to put in much effort. At this moment, Ling Yuhan's face was serious as she looked at the person who was approaching her with evil intentions. This person was a disciple of the Earthen Way sect. Moreover, he was not weak. He was at the 4th stage Bright Chi Realm. With this level of cultivation, even among the participants of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Lands, he was considered to be one of the top few. Little girl, the Soaring Cloud sect is just a declining sect. What's so good about joining a sect like that? Why don't you join the Earthen Way sect? Then, let this big brother take good care of you. The Earthen Way sect disciple laughed lecherously. There was no doubt that the beautiful face of the Soaring Cloud sect was extremely attractive to men. Moreover, Ling Yuhan was only at the 1st stage Bright Chi Realm. In the eyes of this 4th stage Bright Chi Realm Earthen Way sect disciple, a cultivator of this level would not be able to resist him at all. Thinking of Ling Yuhan's expression after being easily defeated by him, the Earthen Way sect disciple laughed wickedly. At this moment, Ling Yuhan sighed softly. Although I rarely kill people, I should be able to kill this kind of person, right? Master said that in a secret realm like the Hidden Dragon Ancient Lands, the biggest threat is not the demonic beast traps here, but the people who come with you. If that's the case, then let's test out the power of the Ice Emperor Heavenly Sword technique that Master gave me. Ling Yuhan suddenly raised her head. The Jade Sea sword in her hand glowed, and in the next moment, she charged forward. A layer of frost suddenly condensed on the Jade Sea sword. Seeing this, the Earthen Way sect disciple laughed coldly. A 1st stage Bright Chi Realm cultivator wants to resist? Suppress him. A giant tortoise martial soul phantom appeared behind the Earthen Way sect disciple. At this moment Ling Yuhan shouted, Ice Emperor Heavenly Sword Technique, 1st Style, Ice Spirit. In the next moment, a ray of light suddenly exploded from the Jade Sea Sword, directly freezing the Earthen Way sect disciple, who was caught off guard, into an ice sculpture. He never would have thought that Ling Yuhan, a first-stage Bright Chi realm cultivator, would have such strength. He didn't even have time to attack before he was killed by Ling Yuhan's sword. Chapter 110. Kid, hand over that herb. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you. A loud shout came from in front of Tianyang. Hearing this, Tianyang, who had just obtained a herb, raised his head and looked at the person. He was wearing a blood-red robe and had a bloody aura around him. Without a doubt, this person was from the Blood Soul sect. You are the kid from the Soaring Cloud sect who dared to provoke senior brother Chao Kuangying? If that's the case, I don't care if you hand over the herb or not, I will kill you. The Blood Soul sect disciple sneered. At this moment, Tianyang smiled slightly. He pinched one of the roots of the ginseng with 2 fingers and lifted it up. This is a rare high-grade herb, the Golden Spirit Ginseng. Aren't you guys from the Snow Mountain sect, the Wolf Tiger sect, and an unknown sect afraid of being robbed by the Blood Soul sect? Tianyang laughed. The Golden Spirit Ginseng was one of the herbs used to refine the energy dissipation pill. In terms of value, it was second only to the 3 main herbs. If its value was calculated in gold coins, it could be sold for nearly 1,000,000 gold coins. It was almost the same value as Tianyang's energy recovery pill. Such a herb would naturally arouse the greed of some cultivators in the Qi illumination realm. Hearing this, the Blood Soul sect disciple's expression changed. He looked around. Sure enough, in the next moment, 3 disciples walked out of the forest. Among them, the one with the highest cultivation and the oldest suppressed the greed in his eyes and looked at Tianyang coldly. How did you find us? You don't have to worry about that. Tianyang smiled slightly. If you guys didn't come out, the Golden Spirit Ginseng would have been taken away by the Blood Soul sect disciple. The Blood Soul sect's escape technique is well known. Although the 3 of you are not weak, it would be difficult for you to catch up with the Blood Soul sect disciple. Hearing this, the Snow Mountain sect disciple's expression changed. Then, he said, then, what do you want? Snow Mountain sect, Wolf Tiger sect, and that person over there, please listen to me. Before Tianyang could reply, the Blood Soul sect disciple's expression changed and he used a true essence sound transmission. The disciples of the Lingyun school are our greatest enemies. Outside, we have joined forces to oppress the Lingyun school. Inside, even if we don't join forces, we can't have internal strife in front of the Lingyun school disciples. So, let's join hands and kill this disciple of the Soaring Cloud sect first. Then, we'll think about how to split the Golden Spiritual Ginseng. The disciple of the Blood Soul sect said eerily. Hearing this, the disciple of the Snow Mountain sect was stunned, then he sneered. That's right. How could this brat find such a precious medicinal material like the Golden Spirit Ginseng? It's obviously for us. Didn't he say that he was going to kill the people of our 4 great sects? Then, we will kill him in the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land. Not long after they entered, the person who spoke such arrogant words died. I'm sure that the face of that elder from the Lingyun school will be very ugly. The disciple of the Snow Mountain sect laughed eerily. Hearing this, the disciples of the Wolf Tiger sect and the other unknown sects nodded their heads. From the looks of it, Tianyang was the weakest among the 5 competitors. They wanted to kill Tianyang, the weakest person, who still had such a precious medicinal material like the Golden Spiritual Ginseng. As for who would get the Golden Spiritual Ginseng, they would think about it when the time came. Seeing that the few of them did not make any sound, but their lips were moving, it was obvious that they were communicating with each other. Tianyang did not bother to pay attention to them, and only smiled. Just how powerful was his soul force? No matter what they were communicating with each other, he could hear them clearly. However, Tianyang already knew that this would happen. The 4 great sects had joined forces to oppress the Lingyun school. In other words, the disciples of the Lingyun school were moving targets in the hidden dragon ancient land. As long as they wanted to rely on any one of the four great sects, they would attack the disciples of the Lingyun school. It was not unexpected for Tianyang that the four of them would join forces. However, this was what Tianyang wanted, wasn't it? Tianyang smirked and sneered in his heart. If it was not for the fact that it would be troublesome to kill the disciples of the Blood Soul sect one by one after killing them, he would have already killed the disciples of the Blood Soul sect. Now that all of his enemies knew that he had the golden spiritual ginseng, Tianyang's plan had reached its first step. The next step was to kill all of them in one fell swoop. Brat, how can a piece of trash like you own such a precious medicinal material like the golden spiritual ginseng? Go to hell. At this time, the four of them had finished communicating with each other. With a roar, the disciple of the Blood Soul sect rushed out. He channeled his true origin and charged towards Tianyang. Blood Chi Palm. Blood Chi suddenly condensed and exploded with boundless power. The disciple of the Blood Soul sect shouted, "Remember, the person who will kill you is the disciple of the Blood Soul sect, Deng Yulin." At this time, the disciples of the Snow Mountain sect and the Wolf Tiger sect also attacked. Blizzard Sky. Wolf Roar. Duan Guang Palm. The three of them roared as the true origin in their bodies surged. For the golden spiritual ginseng, they had all used their full strength. These disciples were all at the third level of the clear chi realm. The strongest disciple of the Snow Mountain sect was at the fourth level of the clear chi realm. This situation was even more urgent than when Tianyang was surrounded by 7 people in the Soaring Cloud sect. However, Tianyang was no longer the same as before. He was at the peak of the clear chi realm level 2. He was much stronger than when he had just broken through to the clear chi realm. A cold light flashed in Tianyang's eyes. The flaming wind sword in his hand suddenly exploded with a shocking light. In the next moment, he attacked. Sky Sword Technique, First Form, Soaring Heavens. Soaring Heavens. This was the first form of the Sky Sword Technique. As the first move of the Heaven Tier Sword Art, Soaring Sky's sword possessed unparalleled terrifying power. Previously, Soaring Heavens was able to kill 7 disciples at the Clear Chi Realm Level 1 or Level 2. Now, he could kill 4 disciples at the Clear Chi Realm Level 3 or Level 4. Kill! The 5 of them roared at the same time. At this moment, the first form of the Sky Sword Technique, Soaring Heaven's Sword Chi, was completed. Tianyang's eyes were solemn. The boundless Emperor's aura that came from the Tianji Sword Emperor was released from his body. It was as if a supreme emperor had descended. In an instant, the 4 disciples stopped in their track. However, the attack was still extremely fast and collided with Tianling's sword. There was no deafening collision, no dazzling light, and nothing that would appear in the eyes of the 4 disciples. The only thing that appeared was that the attacks of the 4 disciples were sliced apart by Tianyang like tofu. No! The eyes of the 4 disciples were shrouded in fear. How could a Soaring Cloud sect disciple at the peak of the Clear Chi realm release such a terrifying attack? However, no one could answer their question. In the next second, the 4 of them were swallowed by Soaring Heaven's sword. Before they died, they tried to save their lives with their martial spirits, but the Soaring Heaven's sword directly devoured all of their martial spirit. Chapter 111. Just one slash. Disciples from 3 big sects and 1 small sect. Among them, there was even a Clear Chi Realm Level 4 cultivator. Just like that. They were all killed by Tianyang in 1 slash. Even if the Ice Emperor was alive, he would not be able to snatch my herbs. How dare a few rank 9 sect disciples act so presumptuously in front of me? Tianyang chuckled and waved his hand. A suction force burst out from his palm and took all the interspatial bags from their waist. A total of 3,000 low-grade spiritual stones and 2 low-grade cosmic sabers. Useless. Furthermore, they are the weakest of the low-grade cosmic sabers. There are quite a lot of herbs. Unfortunately, they are all low-grade herbs. I'll just exchange them for some spiritual stones from the Soaring Cloud sect. With a slight movement of his soul power, Tian Yang completed an inventory of his spoils of war. Then, he threw them into his space bag and continued on his way. This was only the outer area of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, and there were already rare herbs like the golden spiritual ginseng. If he went deeper, wouldn't there be mid-grade cosmic weapons? Although the wind flame sword that Tian Yang had snatched from Wu Meng was a mid-grade artifact, it was the same as the low-grade artifacts that he had just snatched. It was one of the weakest mid-grade artifacts. If there were better materials, Tianyang would not mind upgrading the Flaming Wind sword. However, if there were better mid-grade cosmic weapons, it would be even better. Normally, Clear Chi Realm cultivators would use low-grade cosmic weapons. Only a few geniuses or experts in the Clear Chi Realm would use mid-grade cosmic weapons. However, most of the disciples who participated in the fight for the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land had either low-grade or mid-grade cosmic weapons. Although Tianyang was not weak, the Flaming Wind sword was still too weak. However, the Wind Flame sword was still a little weak. Once it met a stronger mid-grade treasure, it could very well be damaged. The others must be heading towards the central area. According to the information that Yi Zhanling gave me, there seems to be some incredible cosmic weapons in the central area. Tianyang mumbled. Then, he used the dragon subduing steps to increase his speed. In the blink of an eye, Tianyang had covered a distance of more than 10 meters. For a cultivator at the peak of the second level of the Bright Chi realm, such a speed was unimaginable. Even a level 5 Clear Chi realm cultivator would not be able to move as fast as him. Kid, don't go too far. The Earthen Way sect disciple's face was filled with rage as he looked at the youth in front of him. Hearing this, Yi Zhanling's brows didn't even twitch as he lightly laughed. Your sect's elders are watching outside. It's not convenient for me to make a move. However, when we enter the Hidden Dragon Ancient Ground, do you really think that the people from the Lingyun sect are all living bodhisattvas? Yi Zhanling, Yi Zhanling, Yi Zhanling, Yi Yi. Seeing this, the 3 level 4 Clear Chi realm cultivators who were blocked by Yi Zhanling could not help but feel fear in their hearts. They knew Yi Zhanling's notoriety very well. Even the arrogant Chao Kuangying of the Blood Soul sect could only be slightly weaker than Yi Zhanling. Even if they worked together, they would not be as strong as Chao Kuangying. The 3 of us can deal with the ordinary Soaring Cloud sect's disciples. But if we meet Yi Zhanling, our chances of winning are less than 1 in 10,000. So, the strongest Earthen Way sect's disciple took a few steps back and muttered to himself. He turned around and exchanged glances with the other 2 disciples beside him. Then, the true yuan in his body began to circulate wildly. Run! In the next moment, the 3 of them immediately rushed out and ran in 3 different directions. They knew that if Yi Zhanling really attacked, they would not be able to stop him. However, if they ran together, all 3 of them would die. If they ran separately, only one of them would die. However, do you think that by running separately, 2 of you can survive? The corner of Yi Zhanling's mouth curled into a sneer. His dimensional bag moved, and a mid-grade long sword appeared in his hand. This sword was one of the few mid-grade long swords in the Soaring Cloud sect. The sword's body was decorated with dots of starlight. Therefore, this sword was named Star Scar Sword. High-grade profound level martial skill, 7 stars sword combo. Yi Zhanling roared, and a terrifying true yuan burst out from his body. In the next moment, 3 dots of sword light emerged from the tip of the Star Scar sword and turned into 3 terrifying sword chi. The sword chi's speed far exceeded that of a human. In a few blinks of an eye, the 3 sword chi caught up with the 3 fleeing Earthen Way sect's disciples. What? You actually cultivated the 7 stars sword combo to the level of 3 stars sword combo. The leading youth turned his head and looked at the dazzling sword chi in shock. His face was full of shock. He then sighed and allowed the sword qi to pierce his neck. To be able to cultivate a high-grade profound level martial skill to such a level, I did not die in vain. The youth's life force quickly disappeared. In the end, he only left behind this sentence and fell down with a loud bang. He did not use his martial spirit because he knew that Yi Zhanling had cultivated the 7 stars sword combo to the 3 stars sword combo. Then, even if he used his martial spirit, he would not be able to block it. This kind of gap was really too big. As for the remaining 2, it was naturally impossible for them to have a better ending than the strongest person. In fact, their ending was even earlier than the strongest person. Those 2 died under Yi Zhanling's sword. A trace of killing intent appeared on his face. Then, this trace of killing intent was replaced by some paleness. The 7 stars sword combo was a high-grade profound level martial skill. Generally speaking, only high-level cultivators above the 7th level of the Bright Qi realm could cultivate it. He was only at the half-step 6th stage, but he could barely use the 7 stars sword combo. For him, the consumption was extremely large. However, Junior Tianyang is right. Since you dare to take away 20 spots from my Soaring Cloud sect, then how many people from your 4 sects will die? A trace of killing intent was released from Yi Zhanling's words. In the next moment, Yi Zhanling activated his true origin and continued to sweep through the forest. His destination was the same as Tianyang's. It was the center of the hidden dragon ancient land. However, compared to Tianyang, who had just been reborn and did not know the details, Yi Zhanling knew more. The center of the hidden dragon ancient land was the true essence of the secret realm. After killing a Snow Mountain sect disciple indifferently, Tianyang was expressionless. It seemed that the 4 sects hated the Soaring Cloud sect too much, or maybe it was because of Tianyang's previous words. These disciples of the 4 sects loved to crash into him like moths to a flame. At this moment, Tianyang's face suddenly changed. A strong wave of energy came from the side. Other than that, there were a few people who came with him. It was the wave of energy of the Soaring Cloud sect disciples. There are Soaring Cloud sect disciples fighting nearby? Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Then, his body flashed as he activated the dragon subduing step. Immediately, he swept towards the direction of the wave of energy that came from the soul power. After a while, Tianyang saw the situation. There were 3 Soaring Cloud sect disciples. One of them was holding a huge dragon-shaped broadsword. The other 2 were covering for the person who was retreating. However, Tianyang's pupils shrank. He suddenly realized that behind the Soaring Cloud sect disciple who was holding the dragon-shaped broadsword, a person who was hiding in the dark had rushed out. Flowing Cloud Sword Skill, Flowing Cloud Shuttle. Chapter 112. Flowing Cloud Sword Art, Flowing Cloud Shuttle. Tianyang growled as the wind-flame sword in his hand rose into the air and shot out. Flowing Cloud Shuttle belonged to the 2nd stage of the Flowing Cloud Sword Art. It was a close-range attack and was much faster than a simple hand slash. Tianyang had used this move when he was hunting the Silver Lightning Python. Now that the Flowing Cloud Shuttle had been strengthened, it was much cleaner than when he had killed the Silver Lightning Python. In just a flash, the person who had been hiding in the dark had his heart pierced by Tianyang's sword. He couldn't be more dead. What? At this moment, the young man with the dragon-shaped broadsword sensed the movement behind him. He looked at the Blood Soul sect disciple who had fallen to the ground in fear. His face changed. This person was only a few feet away from him. If this person wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. If it wasn't for someone, not only would he have died, but he would also have lost the dragon-shaped broadsword that he had risked his life to obtain. Thinking of this, the young man's face turned pale. He felt a little scared. Then, he saw the flying sword that had saved his life fall into the hands of someone above him. Looking closely, a trace of joy appeared on the young man's face. Senior Brother Tianyang. Senior Brother Tianyang? At this moment, the two young men who were trying their best to block the enemy's attack were stunned. Then, they became ecstatic. Senior brother Tianyang is here. You guys from the Blood Soul sect, prepare to die. Tianyang's cultivation was only at the peak of Clear Chi realm. Among the 30 disciples who had come to the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, he was not considered the top. However, he had easily defeated Yang Xiong in private and killed Ho Long in front of more than 20 disciples. Tianyang is here. Hearing this, Yang Xiong, who had been frantically defending himself, suddenly trembled. His true yuan exploded and sent the Blood Soul sect disciple in front of him flying. He then turned around and said in surprise, "It's really you." At this moment, the two Blood Soul sect disciples who were fighting with Yang Xiong and the other disciple saw that the person with the dragon-shaped broadsword was still alive. Their faces darkened. Tianyang? Is that the Soaring Cloud sect disciple who dared to provoke senior brother? Not only did he provoke eldest senior brother, but he also destroyed our plan to seize the dragon saber. This Tianyang really deserves to die. The two Blood Soul sect disciples' faces were gloomy as they stared at the approaching Tianyang, their true essence madly condensing within their bodies. "You're finally here." Yang Xiong hurried over. If you hadn't taken action in time, the dragon saber that was hard to snatch would have been gone. Brothers from the same sect should help each other. However, who can tell me what's going on? Tianyang waved his hand, indicating that Yang Xiong didn't need to thank him too much. Then, he looked at the two Blood Soul sect disciples and said in a deep voice. The two Blood Soul sect disciples were both at the 5th level of the Bright Chi realm. Although the Soaring Cloud School had 3 people, only Yang Xiong was at the 5th level of the Bright Chi realm. No wonder the battle was so intense. If not for Yang Xiong's strength, he would have been defeated by the two Bright Chi realm disciples. This is the 6th inner disciple, Zhang Chen, and this is the 12th inner disciple, Jin Xiong. They are both at the 4th level of the Bright Chi realm. Yang Xiong introduced them to Tianyang. Hearing this, Zhang Chen and Jin Xiong became nervous. Although Tianyang's current ranking was similar to theirs, they knew that he was strong. However, they all knew that with Tianyang's strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to beat the 5 of them with one hand. The opponent is a bastard from the Blood Soul sect. We were exploring a small relic and had just found the dragon saber. Then, these two Blood Soul sect disciples rushed out and killed us. We were caught off guard and lost one of our junior brothers. Yang Xiong said angrily. Hearing this, Tianyang's face turned ugly. Someone from the Soaring Cloud School died? Moreover, he died at the hands of these two Blood Soul sect disciples. These two Blood Soul sect disciples are both at the 5th level of the Bright Chi realm. They can be ranked in the top 5 in the Blood Soul sect. One is called Deng Jia, and the other is called Shuequang. They are both difficult to deal with, Yang Xiong said in a low voice. Tianyang nodded slightly and looked at the dragon saber that had caused this fierce battle. The dragon saber was wide, almost as wide as a human head. Its entire body was golden, and at the edge of the saber, there was a lifelike dragon head. It was as if the sharp blade was spat out from the dragon head. The appearance was not the main point. Tianyang sensed that the dragon saber emitted an aura that was no weaker than his flaming wind sword. In fact, it was even stronger. In other words, this dragon saber was a middle-grade bejeweled weapon. No wonder the Blood Soul sect disciples fought so fiercely. For those at the Bright Chi realm, once they had a middle-grade bejeweled weapon, even if they could not display its full strength, it could still greatly increase their strength. This dragon saber is a middle-grade bejeweled weapon, Tianyang said. Hearing this, Yang Xiong, Zhang Chen, and Jin Xiong's faces changed. Middle-grade bejeweled weapon? The dragon saber that had caused them to fight was actually an ordinary middle-grade bejeweled weapon? However, even if it is a middle-grade bejeweled weapon, since it is in the hands of the Soaring Cloud sect disciples, it is not something that others can touch. Tianyang turned around and said coldly. He did not touch the dragon saber. He was a sword emperor and naturally used a sword. Although he had some knowledge of the saber Tao, he could only display his strongest strength with a sword. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Seeing this cold light, Xue Kuang and Deng Jia of the Blood Soul sect were shocked. What kind of eyes were these? That cold light was as cold as the 9 nether hell, without any emotion. Humph. Tianyang, so what if you are not weak? You dared to provoke Senior Chao Kuangying, so you must die. Besides, you even killed my junior brother before this. Tianyang, prepare to die. Xue Kuang snorted, his blood-red robe fluttering. Then, his true yuan surged and Xue Kuang roared, martial spirit, blood drop, profound upper-grade martial skill. Baleful blood palm. Lu Jin has played the baleful blood palm so many times, but you are still using it. Moreover, you are worse than Lu Jin. Tianyang sneered. The flaming wind's sword trembled slightly. In the next moment, facing Xue Kuang's baleful blood palm, which was formed by condensing the power of his martial spirit, Tianyang calmly made his move. A ray of sword light tore through the blood mist condensed by the baleful blood palm, like a flash of light in the darkness. It tore through the entire sky. Beautiful and magnificent. The aura of this sword was not strong, but this sword made everyone present stunned. In the next moment, the baleful blood palm and the sword light collided. It did not even last a second before it was torn apart. The baleful blood palm executed by Xue Kuang, a cultivator at the 5th level of the Bright Qi realm, was powerless in front of this sword. This sword is called Shocking Cloud. Now you can die in peace. Chapter 113. You killed Xue Kuang. Deng Jia looked in horror at Xue Kuang, who had been cut in half. His face turned pale and he took a few steps back. He could not suppress the trembling in his voice. Xue Kuang's father is the 3rd elder of the Blood Soul sect, Xue Kong. You dared to kill Xue Kuang. Elder Xue Kong will not let you go. Deng Jia pointed at Tianyang and said in horror. Tianyang frowned and asked. The 3rd elder of the Blood Soul sect, Xue Kong? What's his level? He's one of the few Bright Qi realm experts in the Arctic state. Even Elder Wu would be at a disadvantage if he were to fight with Xue Kong, Yang Xiong said with a serious face. He did not expect Xue Kuang to have such a background. A Bright Qi realm expert could do whatever he wanted in the Arctic state as long as he did not provoke powerful forces such as the Soaring Cloud sect, the head of the 8 great clans, or the royal family of the Arctic state. This Xue Kuang was actually Xue Kang's son. This was going to be troublesome. Haha. Now that you know Elder Xue Kang's name, why don't you kneel down and beg for mercy? Hand over the dragon saber and maybe I, Deng Jia, will say a few words to Elder Xue Kang so that you won't suffer so much when you die. Deng Jia looked at the frowning Yang Xiong and suddenly recovered his strength. He pointed at Tianyang and laughed wildly. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyebrows twitched. This guy is ignoring me? Does he think he's awesome? Noisy. Tianyang said indifferently. Then he waved the flaming wind sword and a sword chi swept out. It contained the will of Flowing Cloud and instantly shattered Deng Jia's defense and killed him. The poor Bright Qi realm expert had a chance to survive for a few seconds, but because of his big mouth, he was instantly killed by Tianyang. Now tell me, what kind of person is this Xue Kong? Tianyang ignored Deng Jia, who had died with a grievance just like Xue Kuang, and turned his head to the side. Hearing this, Yang Xiong nodded and said seriously, this Xue Kong is not only at the 7th level of the Bright Qi realm, but he also has an extremely high position in the Blood Soul sect. It can be said that he is second only to the sect master, 1st elder, and 2nd elder, and above everyone else. With such power, even my cloud-soaring sect is extremely afraid of this person. Furthermore, it's said that Xue Kong is extremely protective of his children. Tianyang, now that you've killed Xue Kuang, I'm afraid you'll get into trouble. Yang Xiong said. After we get out of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Land, Ask Elder Wu to escort you back to the Soaring Cloud sect. I'm sure that no matter how strong Xuekong is, he wouldn't dare to act recklessly in the Soaring Cloud sect. To Yang Xiong's surprise, Tianyang shook his head. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Whatever tricks this Xuekong has up his sleeves, I'll just have to face it head-on. Furthermore, there are countless opportunities within the hidden dragon ancient land. Who knows how strong I'll be after I leave this place? There's no need to boost the morale of others and diminish our own. Tianyang said indifferently. Jin Xiong and Zhang Chen, who were beside him, were ashamed. Although they were also disciples of the Soaring Cloud sect, they knew that the person that Tianyang had killed was Xuekang's son. In their hearts they had thought of running away. However, Tianyang's indifferent words shattered their thoughts. That's true. No matter how strong Xuekong is, he's only at Clear Qi Realm Level 7. Tianyang is currently at the peak of Clear Qi Realm Level 2, yet he could easily kill Xuequang and Deng Jia. If he breaks through to Clear Qi Realm Level 4 or 5, how powerful would he be? Perhaps, at that time, the person who would be running away would be Xuekong, Yang Xiong said excitedly. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded his head and said, in this hidden dragon ancient land, the opportunity in the center is the greatest. Now that you guys are heavily injured, I don't know if you want to go to the center with me or recover from your injuries. No matter which one it is, I'll give you guys these recovery pills that I made. The Soaring Cloud sect can't lack people like you, Tianyang said. Then, his space bag flashed and 3 jade bottles containing the recovery pills appeared in his hand. With a flick of his finger, the 3 pills broke through the stopper and landed in the hands of the 3 people. This is an recovery pill. Tianyang, you actually have such a pill. If this is the case, I, Yang Xiong, can fight for the opportunity in the center of the hidden dragon ancient land. Zhang Chen, Jin Xiong, are the 2 of you going? Yang Xiong said excitedly. He immediately stood up and was about to leave. However, when Jin Xiong heard this, he smiled bitterly and shook his head. I've just entered the Clear Qi realm not long ago. Even if I go to the center of the hidden dragon ancient land, I'll only be cannon fodder. I'll find a place to recover at the edge of the hidden dragon ancient land. Give this recovery pill to Zhang Chen. He's ranked 6. He can't miss the opportunity to fight for the opportunity in the center of the hidden dragon ancient land. Jin Xiong said. Then, he gave the recovery pill to Zhang Chen. Hearing this, Zhang Chen's face was filled with gratitude. Alright, Jin Xiong, I'll work hard with you in the future. Yang Xiong, Senior Tianyang, let's go, Zhang Chen said loudly. Hearing this, Tianyang and Yang Xiong nodded their heads and walked towards the center of the hidden dragon ancient land. Jin Xiong looked at the backs of the 3 people and quickly flew towards the edge of the hidden dragon ancient land. He found a secluded cave and entered it to recover from his injuries. At the center of the hidden dragon ancient land. The center of the hidden dragon ancient land was not like what others thought. There were no special treasures or strange phenomena. In fact, it was just a big lake. Of course, this big lake was not ordinary. It was just that it was not the time for it to show off. Yi Zhanling, you're really fast. Looks like you're determined to get the opportunity in the hidden dragon ancient land. Beside the big lake, an ugly man looked at Yi Zhanling, whose face was filled with killing intent, and said with a smile. Hearing this, Yi Zhanling glanced at the man and said, Zhu Qing, as the senior brother of the Earthen Way sect, aren't you here early as well? Not only me, Ting Hui from the Snow Mountain sect is also here. He's right there. The man called Zhu Qing by Yi Zhanling laughed weirdly and pointed at a man who was sitting cross-legged beside him. Hearing this, Yi Zhanling frowned and shut his mouth. The people of the Earthen Way sect had always acted strangely. Even their martial skills were strange. Therefore, Yi Zhanling did not want to be entangled with Zhu Qing. I didn't expect that Yi Zhanling from the Soaring Cloud sect would be faster than me. At this time, an arrogant voice came from the side. The person was wearing a blood-red robe and had an arrogant face. He was holding a huge blood-red spear in his hand and had the aura of a peak Qi realm stage 5. This person was none other than Chao Kuangying. Where's that Tianyang from the Soaring Cloud sect? A low-grade yellow martial spirit. I didn't know until now that a piece of trash like him could come to the Hidden Dragon ancient land. Is there no one else in your Soaring Cloud sect? Chao Kuangying sneered. Hearing this, Yi Zhanling's face darkened. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at Chao Kuangying. My Soaring Cloud sect doesn't need an evil person like you to judge. Although Tianyang only has a low-grade yellow martial spirit, his strength is extremely powerful. Powerful? He hasn't appeared until now. I'm afraid he was eaten by the demonic beast in the Hidden Dragon ancient land. Your Soaring Cloud sect is getting weaker and weaker. Chao Kuangying shook his head and sneered. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan, who had just walked out of the forest, had an ugly expression on her face.